Good evening. We'll now call the York Planning Board meeting for June 11th, 2026 to order. We do have a quorum this evening. Members present is alternate member Mark Cartier, Wayne Boardman, Board Vice Chair Pete Smith. I'm David Woods, Board Chair. To my right is Gail Billett, Board Secretary. Absent this evening is Steve Friedman and Crystal Tenney. I did not see any field changes submitted. Going right into the public forum. This is a workshop tonight, so there are no applications. We will be having public hearings on some ordinance amendments, but if you have any comment other than what's on the public hearing agenda tonight, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands, we will open and close the public forum and move right into the public hearing portions. In the past, we've done public hearings for all three right off the bat.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Just call them out one at a time, I would
Separately.
say. Open and close one at a time.
Yeah. So we have Article 4, Use Regulations, Article 10F, Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay District, and Article 12, Historic and Archaeological Resources.
You need a motion?
Motion for each one?
Yeah, I
All
think
three.
doesn't matter.
Mr. Chair, I move that we open the public hearings for Article 4, Use Regulations, Article 10F, Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay District, and Article 12, Historic and Archaeological Resource.
It's been moved.
Second.
Moved by Pete, seconded by Gail. Do a vote, but before doing so, we'll appoint Mark Cartier for a voting member this evening. So we'll start. Mark?
Okay.
Wayne?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
David? Votes yes, 5-0. And again, if anyone of the public wants to speak about these amendments, please raise your hand to come speak. And seeing no hands, we will open and close that public forum without objection. And we'll start with Article 12, if the Historic District Commission would like to join us. Show us what you've been working on. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, and green means you can talk. Red is they're muted. So if you just push the button once, and you can just introduce yourselves and spell your name for the record as well, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. My name is John Covino, C-O-V, as in Victor, I-N-O. With me is Kari, K-A-R-I, Lapre, L-A-P-R-E-Y. And we are both members of the Historic District Commission, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about the proposed amendments to Article 12, particularly the property tax refund policy. And we appreciate your putting us near the top of the agenda. Thank you. Does anybody need a copy of the proposed amendments? Do you all have it? Looks like you do. Okay, very good. This has been a discussion with the planning board. Scott Stevens, our chairman, Kari is our vice chairman, has addressed you. We've gone back and forth with drafts to the town attorney, Mary Costigan. We met with her, Dylan, and Scott and I met with her in March, and I believe I can say with certainty that we do have her okay as the amendments that you see before you. Take a minute, and I'll be sparing of your time, talk about the four main goals as I see them anyway, and Kari can jump in, of these proposed amendments. And I think they're all good goals, and I think that we have, with our amendments, addressed them in a good way. First of all, we want to fix this ordinance that has never really worked. It's a great idea to provide incentive, monetary incentive for the care of historic structures as well as their preservation. I'm a newcomer to the board, been on close to a year, but those with more experience, such as Kari and Dylan and Scott, have said it's never really worked. And so we want to fix it. We want to streamline the process, make it more accessible, make it more open to people, make it easier to implement. And we want to implement, the second goal is we want to implement the strategies of the comprehensive plan. And one of the strategies that Dylan located for me is number 1.7, evaluate the local historic tax credit application process and consider streamlining or simplifying the requirements. So that's what we're addressing here. If you want to find it, you may be familiar with it already. If you want to find it, it's on page 25 of the comprehensive plan, the little numbers, page numbers down at the bottom, but it's page 38 if you're looking at it in the PDF form, a little easier to find. As I say, the proposed amendments implement that strategy. I'll explain in a minute how they streamline the process. You may have gained that insight from looking at it already in prep for this meeting, but we'll explain it. Another strategy is to consider expanding the York Center Historic District. Okay, there may be reluctance of some residents to come into or be included in a historic district. They fear there'll be all sorts of restrictions placed upon them. So again, this property refund policy provides an incentive for them, makes it better for them to be in an historic district. The fourth goal, that's the third goal. The fourth goal is, of course, to ensure consistency, as we must have, with the state law, Title 38, 5730. And that's why we've had such back and forth with Ms. Costigan. She is okay with it. And again, the statute talks about maintenance as well as historic preservation itself. So we're going to do this. Now, how do we achieve all these goals with these amendments? We're making the availability, the eligibility for the refunds, we're extending it to all buildings at least 75 years old that have historical or architectural significance and integrity. Okay, you know already that if a property is listed within the National Register of Historic Places, or in a historic district, or in our local historic districts, Village Center, York Harbor, Lindsay Road, or is designated as a landmark, or a fifth way, determined by the State Preservation Commission to be eligible for listing on the National Register, that it qualifies. But we can reach a lot more structures we think are deserving of this incentive by opening up to the 75-year-old structures. And I hate to admit that 75 years ago is 1951. But by opening this up, I think we will be able to reach more people, and we'll make it work. And the more people that can take advantage of this, the more popular it'll get. We'll start to spin the wheel, pick up some momentum. How do we streamline the process? First of all, we're deleting the requirements of a specific work plan and a maintenance plan. You can find that bottom third of page 2 in that four-sided two-page handout. 12.16D3 talks about that. Instead of a work plan or a maintenance plan, we just say what you submit should include the scope, method, and extent of work in sufficient detail to demonstrate compliance with the requirements. So we're not making a rigid type submission. We're simplifying the ranking system for application review and the allocation of funds. You can find that at the bottom of page 2 and the top of page 3, or side 2 and side 3, 1216E and F. We're going to allocate funds instead of the ranking system that we have now. We're going to allocate them first to those within an historic district or having a landmark status. We're making no distinction between those two. Okay. The earliest to be taken first. And as funds remain, we'll open it up to those outside historic districts or that do not have landmark status. We're increasing, we're setting a limit on the refund provisions, 1216C, near the top of page 2. We're setting a maximum refund of $30,000. Whether that would ever be reached, it'd be quite a level of improvements. But main thing here is 30% under our proposal, 30% of the actual cost of eligible work completed for a property within a historic district or landmark status. 20% for all the other properties. So there again, we're trying to make it easier for people to come within the historic district, and maybe that will help fulfill the strategy that was mentioned of increasing at least the York Village Historic District, maybe some others. And consistency of state law, as I say. All owners would have to sign and comply maintenance agreement developed by the commission, and that's something that we have done and run by our attorney, and because the statute calls for that. So fixing the ordinance to make it work, implementing the strategy's comprehensive plan, providing incentives for residents to come within an historic district, which would be the benefit of the town as a whole, and ensure consistency with state law. I think all these goals are met with the amendments we propose. So thank you for your time, Carrie.
I think you've covered it all.
Covered it?
I mean,
Okay.
they'll probably have questions.
You didn't give her a chance.
Yeah,
There
that's
we
fine. I
go.
told him to
You got it. I think
Not
that
hearing
was
my
the-
side of the story here.
Summary.
That was the most professional
Yeah.
presentation, I think. How many years have I been
That's what he's
coming
here
here?
for.
He came prepared.
Well,
It all makes good sense, doesn't it?
Anyone have questions? I have a few, but
I just have a quick question. So one of the goals is to expand the historic district.
that was mentioned as a strategy in the comprehensive plan, and if that's something that, in the plan, we'd like to be consistent with the plan and try to promote it.
So my question is, when you think about expanding the district, there's some newer homes, less than 75 years, et cetera. When you're expanding the district, are you looking to bring in a full area, like a whole block, let's say, not that you necessarily would have a block, or individual houses that qualify? Or how do you see that expansion working?
Here, I think Carrie might get a chance to talk on that one.
Well, when we worked on the proposed expansion some years ago, we were looking at adding the whole length of York Street, which would take in a few houses that aren't 75 years old, but not very many. So that's what we were looking at, but, we're happy to have individual things at Landmark too, if a whole district doesn't get put together.
Could I follow that question? Oh, you have another one.
I just wanted to follow up and say that, so if there were even if it was two houses that wouldn't qualify for this, would they be required to be part of the same rules that everybody else? So if you add the whole street.
Oh, I see.
And there's a few houses that couldn't qualify for this, would they then be subject to the same restrictions that other houses as part of the district would be?
Generally, the way that works is that they're subject to restrictions of what they could do in terms of building a big addition or replacing the house on the lot, because it would have to relate to the other properties.
Well, isn't
in
it
the
typically
district.
what you see from streetwise, like
Yeah.
what people can see?
But individually, the house itself would be much more lenient in terms of what it could do for, replacing.
Well, I was just wondering that, depending on what the answer to that is, you could have a roadblock to people wanting to encourage, expansion.
Right.
Because you could have one or two people that just derail you if they don't understand
Yeah.
exactly how that works.
So sort of to help me understand that. So even in the area that's designated now, and may I ask how far down York Street is currently designated? Or where's the stopping point?
It just goes to the old library and then
Okay,
up to Coventry Hall
yes,
on
okay.
Long Sands Road.
So let's say there's a 40-year-old ranch house. And I'm looking at the list. The ranch house was never indicated in the National Historic District, not individually listed. Is a contributing property to a local historic district. So they're in the district, but they're really not a contributing property because they don't meet any of the other rules, and they're not 75 years old or more.
Right.
So, to your point, they don't, do I understand they're just outliers. They really don't have to consider this at all or anything to do with it, even though they're in the historic district.
At this point, I don't think we have anything that
No.
that meets that. So we haven't had to deal with it, but
So eventually they'll get to be over 75 years
Yeah.
old, and then they could.
but
And then, and you know, and it's sort of like they don't fit. Let's say it's a pretty modern looking thing with, you know, big tall windows with no frames and a metal roof with one direction, you know, you wouldn't want it, I don't think, but
12.8 kind of calls out items, says, nothing in this article shall prevent the construction, reconstruction, alteration, or demolition of any building or structure where the construction is in accordance with a valid building permit issued prior to March 2nd, 85. So it kind of, it protects, not protects, but
so that's 40 years.
does not
41
require
years
historic
old.
district.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what,
Well, I think, if I may, I think, so the question really is, I guess for an example, say you're in a historic district, your house is 40 years. Can you apply for this fund to, say, change out your windows?
that's the other side of the argument.
Yeah, right.
My opinion, if you look at 1216, it talks about the new definition, contributing property. So I think you got to look at that definition first. Contributing property is a structure which adds to the historic associations or architectural qualities for which a property or district is significant. So when you're in a historic, I take that, I
In the
mean,
beginning.
perhaps we
First
could,
page.
perhaps we can
Oh, yeah, yeah.
discuss kind of what that definition means. That's the new definition
Yeah.
that they're adding as part of this amendment, right? A contributing property definition. So would a structure, to what Gail's example is, that's 40 years old, a ranch, or, you know, not meeting that 75 plus, would that meet or fall in line with that? Maybe. So then you got to look at eligibility requirements, the B, right? 1216B. And you go A, is a contributing property within a National Register listed historic district. Okay, if you look at the National Register Historic District, it's pretty, believe it's pretty big in town. Is individually listed in the National Register? No, it wouldn't be. Is a contributing property to a local historic district? Yes, could be. I think it all depends on the application, what that building is trying to do. If the building, the person who's coming in with their 40-year-old, 50-year-old ranch is trying to make that building more historic or fitting with the district, I'd say yes, they would qualify. But perhaps we need to clarify that.
I was going to say, so doesn't that, as soon as you call my attention back to contributing property, which I'd certainly read before, but it's been right by it in my head now. Here we have a statement, adds to the historic associations or architectural qualities. Okay, so isn't that up to whoever wants to define it their own way? Because I don't see it defined here. And that may be something you need to think about, is a whole new section that defines what do you mean by architectural qualities?
Well, I believe that's all taken from the federal,
Well, shouldn't it be noted
Guidelines.
then? Shouldn't it say according to guidelines XYZ?
well, I think it does talk about
further in, I think.
further in what
Visual
that,
compatibility.
what that means. And there is some discretion with the HDC in reviewing the application too, which would also help with making a judgment on if in fact that quote-unquote contributing property might be doing something that's contributing to the historic district, i.e. making it look or feel quote-unquote historic, I guess you could say.
Would it be a benefit to York Street to take, we'll call it modern in terms of historic relevance, like a cape, for instance, and add the historic characteristics of windows and the entry? Or is that,
Yeah, could be say if it's the facade, I mean, it talks about this,
facade.
the side and generally side and front
What
facing.
can be seen from the street?
That area would be, if someone comes in with an application, hey, I got this ranch, it's 40 years old, but you know what, I'm gonna put these really architectural, historic windows and detail in my trim and all this in the front, would that qualify? I would think, and maybe the HDC could correct me if I'm wrong,
I should,
I would think that I'd look fondly on doing something like that.
well, generally, we try not to create a false appearance of something being historic. And as you said a minute ago, something that's 40 years old is going to be 50 years old soon. So we do tend to try, I don't know that we really would, I think in here it talks kind of about maintenance and repairs of historic historic features and not so much renovations.
Yeah, and to your point,
That's my
that's the reason why the
understanding.
town hall, the new addition to the town hall, isn't a copy of the front of the building.
Right.
It's meant to be compatible with it. In fact, you're not supposed to make copies of historic. That defeats the purpose of this. I think the more relevant question is not whether a contributing property is not whether they can get money for it. Is it whether they have limitations on what they can do?
Right.
And this definition is, pretty close to describing that.
The definition?
Yeah, I mean, there's some vagueness, but in order for the Historic District Commission to object to a renovation in a historic district, they would look at this and say, well, does this building contribute historic associations or architectural qualities? And they could say, it's a 40-year-old ranch. It's never going to look like a very building. So no, and likewise, they wouldn't have to use certain windows, or they wouldn't have to be very fussy about what they did, except, as you said, if they were going to put an addition on or an ADU, for instance, they would have to be more sensitive to the size, the massing, the roof pitch, that kind of stuff, rather than making it necessarily historic. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's how it's
You
been.
use the word "they" in your description just then, and I'm wondering who "they" is. And the
Historic
"they" in that
District
case,
Commission.
yeah. So the historic district. So one person from the historic district gets to decide.
There's a vote.
Well, it doesn't say that here. My point is that there's nothing here that tells me how
I see what you mean.
the historic district really goes about deciding that it meets some criteria is not defined, nor how they measure and see whether it meets the criteria. Is it a majority vote of the board that it meets?
Okay.
I really believe that in terms of establishing whether it is a contributing property, there ought to be fairly significant detail about what is a significant property.
Isn't there a document that you use that's either the
We use
Historic District
various,
Commission, it's a
documents.
supplement to this, as I
the
recall it.
Secretary of the Interior standards
Right.
for the treatment of historic properties, but that doesn't end up defining the
Okay.
contributing, non-contributing.
I was gonna piggyback off of what Peter was mentioning, because I was gonna ask what the process was,
Yeah.
just to see if there was a process and what that looks like, in order to help those who want to understand if they qualify, what they would qualify for, what that literally looks like, per your standards.
Guess I'm confused. So 1216D application requirements doesn't spell that out enough. Or eligibility standards, certainly if you're an applicant, you can read those sections, but the application requirements seem pretty clear to me on what's the expected process, as well as the application review in section E too. So I guess I'm failing to understand where the board is.
You're questioning the process for determining what is historically or architecturally significant. Is that? We didn't spell it out in here necessarily, but there is a whole process in the ordinance about establishing what can be a landmark or a district. So those criteria are spelled out, and maybe that's what we were,
I was thinking that the easiest way to look at it is if somebody is told no, you know, they're not getting money or whatever, do you feel that the write-up, whether it's part of another document or this document, would clearly make sure they understood why they got a no?
Could you refer back to a document that says this is why you don't get qualified? And by the way, Dylan, that application requirements is a process. It describes a procedure. It doesn't describe the requirements themselves. It describes how you have to put in a form, and the form has to be reviewed, and but it doesn't say what are the requirements. Which relates back to my thought about the contributing property.
That's the big definition, is contributing property. And I always thought that that was a term of which generally historic districts look to and look at when they're reviewing any application, anything within a historic district or a historic site, and making that determination based on the guidelines as prepared in that federal review
Well,
document.
then, if that's true, just add to that sentence based on the guidelines of so-and-so, right? But it's, to me, this says that there's somebody out there who decides that this structure adds to the historic association, and their definition of it is unknown. It's just what they think, right? And that's not enough to me if I was trying to adjudicate something.
You're just seeing the amendments, you're not seeing the whole 12. Have you read all of chapter 12?
Have I read? No, not today.
That goes through the process. That's a lot more than what's on these pages here.
So in there, and I don't use a computer here. I use one at home, but I print everything, which wastes a lot of paper. But anyway, does it say anything in there? Do you have to have, are you allowed to have 1:1 windows, one big pane over one big pane, or do you have to have at least panels and, 6/6 or 8/8? What is that? I'm just asking something that would come to my mind.
it really depends on the property, because some properties would have had 1/1 windows. Some of the Victorian houses
Really?
would have already had maybe 2/2 or 2/1, but,
Wow.
I mean, it varies.
Okay.
And,
You get what I mean, though, right?
no, I do, but,
Does it have to have shutters? Would not have shutters. Does the doorway have to have a certain frame or no frame?
it's really about retaining and preserving what's there now, for the most part,
Sure, I get that.
and keeping the character defining features, if they want to make changes,
Because in 1920 or 1940, they didn't build houses that looked like the ones they built in 1980.
right.
No, nobody did. They didn't know. It wasn't an idea, right?
Right.
They mimicked Victorian or Georgian or whatever they were mimicking, right? I think. I love all this. This is cool, but I think it would help it to have a little more clarification of things like contributing properties, so that there's no argument, because it sounds to me like either one or more of your board gets together and says, "Yep, I like that one." No, I don't like that one though. So
Okay.
that's my big mouth. I'm sorry.
Point's taken.
It would definitely be at a meeting and a vote, and,
Sure. Oh yeah. Sure.
but,
I have a question about the funds. So there'll be an ask each year, or whenever determined by the HDC, a request for funds, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
My question was, if those funds don't get used, just with the track record of this current ordinance, how it's not very user-friendly, if the concern is that the fund's not sitting there, is there a plan to get that put back into something or to go maybe to benefit historic sites that the town owns, something like that? Or would the approval come first and then the funding of the project?
No, I think we ask for, correct me if I'm wrong, we ask for amount based on the refunds granted over the last 3 years.
Okay.
And that has to be approved by the select board
And
and
then the
eventually the voters.
Correct.
Right, so that's all. Your question is, if we don't spend that money
Yeah.
on refunds,
Yeah, if there,
what would happen to it?
none of the projects, or no one seeks to use this incentive.
I think there's a thing
talks
that
of-
reverts to the general fund, I believe.
Did I see?
I don't,
Yeah, policy on unspent funds, 1216 F3. I think that's being retained from,
goes to the town's general fund, it says
Yeah.
here.
Asked and answered, perfect.
Yeah, good question, huh?
I thought it was there someplace. I have to find it.
Number 4, number
That's where
F4.
most,
Yeah.
most operations in town government work that way, so that's not surprising.
And then you had mentioned before that this would be just for repairs. If someone wanted to do an addition on a historic house, it wouldn't go to that project, just the,
Right.
Yeah, new construction is also not permitted too.
This is so,
What was that? So-
it's mainly, maybe.
Yeah,
updates
the
that
eligible work is maintenance of the historic fabric by rehabilitation, restoration, or preservation of the building.
Yeah.
So,
So I have another question going back to the very beginning. York Street goes all the way down till it meets Long Sands Road down on the beach. And there seems to me are quite a few very historical houses between where it ends now and when you get to that first, when you get to the beach at the beginning where that big motorhome place is, trailer place. Is there any plan or intention to extend the York Historic District beyond where it is now? And why not?
we would always be happy to expand it in
might mean-
anywhere.
It might mean you have to go for more money. And so, but
Right.
that's the name of the game. It would seem to me, if we care about how they look up to where you said, when you said it stops about at, where? Town Hall?
Yeah, beyond the old library, the
The
stone.
old library,
building,
okay,
yeah.
not even to the town
And I think
hall.
it takes in the cemetery potentially, right?
So houses that go on all the way down to Harbor Beach, there's some beautiful
Well, some of that,
houses there.
there is harbor,
The harbor has a separate
has
district.
its own zone.
I mean, not to,
Historic district?
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't,
Wait, they have their own historic district?
no, the,
right, there's a
own
couple of
the
them.
York Harbor Local Historic District. So 103 to Simpson, or
Yeah.
past Simpson, by stage neck, but
I don't know if it's
Which they oversee?
politically incorrect to say it or whatever, but I mean, these boundaries were established based on what was acceptable to the people that were making the decisions at the
sure.
time. And so you can see that our York Harbor District has a sawtooth kind of a configuration, and that was because they decided that they would let people opt out or in, depending, and,
the orange.
So right now, when I asked the question before, they were only talking about the beginning part, York Street down.
no, all of the,
Any of
any of the
Any of the
historic
districts.
districts, they're all treated the same, whether it's in the, I mean,
And
they're
are
just
they,
different
are
parts.
they overseeing, managing all of them, or do
Yes.
they have separate groups?
Yes,
yeah, there's the three districts.
Threw me off there.
And then there's a list of individual buildings too, which,
Also landmarks. Okay.
which is again a little
Sorry,
bit,
I didn't get it. I misunderstood.
but it's really was based on what they could get passed at the time when they were working on establishing the districts.
well, as I recall, when Scott came before us a few years ago to extend it down, I think the biggest pushback was people that were afraid there'd be restrictions on their property. And and I think there may be some restrictions on additions, as they've said, but they're not going to tell them what kind of windows they have to have if it's a non-contributing property. And if it is a contributing property, you know, the idea is, I understand it, you're saying is, well, at least let's give an incentive. If we're saying that they need to stay within the historic look of the structure, then at least have some incentives out there.
Okay.
And I think the pushback from the select board, I don't want to speak for them, but it
Don't go
appeared
ahead.
to me to be, you know, unease with the money part of it, with who gets what.
Oh, no.
And I think an argument for this would say each year, if the select board decides what to put into the account, and if they decided, well, you know, the economy is so bad, we can't afford it this year, they could zero it out on any given 1 year. It wouldn't negate, you know, the ordinance change or the ordinance.
For future
But it would,
years.
they have the control, if they're worried about losing control on spending, they have to appropriate that exact amount of money. It's got to go through the budget committee, it's got to go through the town vote. I think that's an argument for, you know, making this streamlined. Why do I make it streamlined? Because, you know, it's an incentive, but we're carefully protecting it so that it's not a waste of money, that it has lots of checks and balances, and again, they have the ultimate say on how much money goes in each year. Does that sound correct? As you
Right.
understand it?
Fixing the
Yes.
tool and then worry about whether to fund it or not later.
Right, we're not debating tonight
Yeah,
whether
that's what we
it
were
should be,
thinking,
you know, 10, 20, 30, $100,000. It's just, should this be in place? Should the select board decide to fund it, you know, on, you know, in a year?
Okay. Good work.
Yes. Board have any other questions?
No, I think this is a great incentive.
Dylan?
I just want to clarify the standards. Do you feel comfortable with the standards that
Yes,
would be, the HDC would review as part of an application?
yes.
Typically, I sat in on one application one time because I was there for something else. And it happened to be the Lancaster building. We were talking about balconies on the second or third floor. The process, as I observed it, was the architect came forward with some plans. They examined the plans. People with knowledge about the design of that era looked at it and suggested some changes on the
The railings.
the railings.
Railings, yeah.
And, you know, the applicant decided to comply with it, and they were approved. So the same process that you go through to approve a change is basically going to be what you do to, I mean, at first it has to be approved before they can seek money.
But it will be that same process, I think, the
Same
back and
process.
forth,
They would have to
hopefully.
sign the maintenance agreement.
And the maintenance, in addition to the maintenance agreement. So,
Yeah.
again, they're used to doing this process. They have the records, they have the historical information for the era and for the town of York. They can look at old, you know, original photography of the time and make decisions based on that. So,
Can they bring back the streetcars? Dylan,
Yes.
I didn't understand your question.
So again, I guess maybe I'm mishearing it, but if someone comes in for an application as it relates to this, say this goes into effect, I thought one of your questions, Pete, is
Yeah.
what are the standards you review? How are you reviewing the application?
How would you judge?
I just got this application. You get this application HDC. What standards are you looking at to make a determination that you're going to have a thumbs up for
Well,
awarding funds to the select board or
well,
whatever?
then it's a contributing property. Let's use that term. that it is a potential contributing property, how would you measure that? How do they measure that? Just eyeball it and say amongst themselves, we can tell it, just tell by looking, it's a good one. Or should there be at least some basic things that call attention to the historical nature of that structure?
Well, and this is where, in my opinion, if you're located in a historic district,
Yeah.
everything is, in my opinion, if you're coming in for a minor or a major renovation, you got to bring it up to a standard of the historic district per the standards herein. That's my opinion. If you're in a historic district and you're coming in for a major renovation, you want to get these property tax, and you're a 40-year-old house, and you want to get this, then you better be doing something that adds to the, and I would go back to this, adds to the historic associations within that district. So
So I'm totally with you.
that's my opinion.
You would want to, what you're saying, if you want to become a contributing property. The term they have here that you just talked about is, I have a house, I come to them, I want to be a contributing property.
I'm in the district
I'm
already.
in the district, I'm in the geographical area, and I want to be a contributing property. And I've got a 40-year-old house, and now what?
I would say, I want to get funds through this program.
Yes,
And to
right.
do that, I think that's where the review process,
Yeah, I
you would
think,
have to look, to me, you'd have to be making that structure, that house,
Add to the historic
add
association.
to the historic associations within the district. How are you doing that?
Don't-
Well, I'm going to use my compatibility factors. If I was HDC, I'd look at sections 1214 and 1215 and make sure that whatever you're doing as part of your additions or your, whatever you're trying to do to your house, that you are somehow in compliance with 1214 and 1215.
I think a lot of, I just want to be clear that usually if it's only 40 years old, it's not considered contributing.
Very unlikely.
The National Register for Historic Places has kind of an arbitrary 50-year cutoff. It has to be,
I understand that,
if
but
it's not 50, unless it has exceptional significance.
But if I'm that property owner and I live in the historic district, in that 40-year-old house, I have a real desire to make my house look like it contributes to these next door, my neighbor. That's that's definitely 100 years old right there. I want to make my house look close to that. I want to go that route. I want to apply. I'm in a historic district. I might not be a contributing property right now, but I want to apply for this in order to become more of a contributing property within the district. To me, that's the question. And so how would you review that application?
How would you qualify at 40?
I would say
cutoff
you
is at
are
50.
trying to do whatever you're doing for renovation. Say you're wanting to put a new entry, you're wanting to put new front windows, you're wanting to put a dormer. How are you set? This is me. I don't know how the HDC would review it, but I would want to look at 1214 and 1215 and say, okay, I'm not going to, HDC, I think the discussion would be around how are you bringing your property to this contributing factor definition? How are you doing that? And what standards are you utilizing? I'd be looking at 1214 and 1215. And how are you doing that?
Following what you're saying. 'cause
So to me, I'd like to see the HDC shall utilize sections 1214 and 1215 to help determine application approval. And I'd put that in E, the paragraph E.
I simply
12.1,
don't,
Put it in some part of 12.1 where it
If
says.
there's still
So,
confusion
Before you
about
go on, hold on. So to what you just said, I'm looking at David's book, and 12.14.3, construction of new buildings and structures in historic district. 14.3.1, 12.14.3.1, to me, looks excellent way. The construction of a new building or structure, that's, and I would think also if you're trying to modify an existing building, I'd add that. shall be of such design, form, proportion, mass, configuration, building materials, texture, and location on a lot as will be compatible with other buildings and structures in the historic district. Somehow, if it's saying it looks like the other historic house, now, it doesn't say which are designated as historic structures. If it said that, it just says with other buildings and structures in the historic district. Well, there are buildings and structures in the historic district that are not historic, am I correct? They're in the
There
district.
potentially could be, but we don't have any in our existing districts, I don't think.
Nobody built a
Well,
new
I'm not
house
sure,
in
actually,
between
what
the
the
other houses.
I think a lot of times it's the
But the
alteration.
point that I wanted to make is that the tax refund is for maintenance of the historic fabric by rehabilitation, restoration, or preservation. So making changes like that, like changing windows or making a new entry, that's not going to be applicable at all in this case. That would be something that would be relevant if you were looking at an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the district. But I think in terms of the tax credit, I feel like that's a moot point because we're really just talking about maintaining what's existing.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is how do you want to pull new people into the district that might not be in that realm?
I think that's, I mean, you can build it, but I think politically, it would be unwise to give money to a new house to make it look like it's historic when there's going to be enough need to help people who have actual historic buildings. You know, once this gets, if this gets funded for a few years, and even if historic district expands, there's going to be a lot of competition for that money. And to award it to a new building, I just don't see it. But again, certificate of appropriateness.
Was I implying, but did you sound like I was implying a new building?
No.
No.
I wasn't, I didn't mean that.
Buildings.
No. I was reading that section to see if it helped me
Yeah.
try to understand what a
1216
contributing
D1.
structure is.
Yes. Nothing in the article should be interpreted as permitting new construction to be held.
No, no. But a contributing property, I'm going to shut up. I'm just saying, if I were to be judging this or advising you on what I think is needed, is a clear understanding of what a contributing property is. You know, that's all.
You know, we have the same kind of decisions to make when we're using the York Beach design standards.
Yeah.
Somebody could ask the same question of us. Are you just looking at it and seeing if it looks good? Well, we have to try to use some standards and try to get it as objective as we can. They do the same thing in the historic
And
district.
they are pretty thorough standards now, too, because of Dylan.
But there's still some interpretation in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. One reason why it's hard to say what is contributing is because when you establish a district, you look at different features that make it significant. What is this district significant for? So you could have a district of a bunch of 1950 capes, and they would be significant for that. Or you could have a district that's, you know, significant because they're farms or other things. So it's hard to say what exactly would contribute until you have the actual district, you know. But the 50 years has been generally like
The cutoff.
the
So
cutoff.
have we completely messed you up now?
I don't think we've been arguing the content of the
Right.
proposed amendment. It was
No.
more trying to understand the process
Right.
and what the trigger would be to see if anyone was going to, I guess, abuse this credit to just get some renovations on a newer house.
I noticed that the first 12-1 definitions, using the italics, it's all new. The way we read these things is if it's italics, it's a change or something new. Was there a definition before this?
With contributing property?
Yeah.
No,
Was it,
that's a new definition.
are there any other definitions that are not? Because I didn't,
That's the only proposed new definition change or.
are there any old definitions?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, the definition section.
which is 12.1.
12.1, right at the beginning.
Okay, so this one that I'm looking at on amendment information is just a new definition.
That's
that
a new
was-
definition. We didn't include all the existing
There are other
definitions.
definitions. Okay.
Right.
Normally, if I'm correct when I say this, whenever we see a change to an ordinance, say definitions, if it was only one new one, we'd see all the old ones and then the new one.
Okay.
A lot of perhaps wasted paper, right?
Well, that's
And
the
I'm not in
changes you're
favor of that. I'm just saying, I look at this and say, wow, there's only one definition.
If the board wants us to do those amendments like that, there's been now a change in that.
I don't, no, I don't. Anyone else? No? Say no?
I would like to just highlight to 1216 D4 maintenance agreement. That should be italicized. I apologize. That's the big maintenance agreement the town attorney reviewed and placed in there. So I apologize that that's new language.
E what?
12.16 D4
D
maintenance.
for,
G, as in dog.
D.
That was
dog
developed.
for,
That was developed with town attorneys.
all the way to the top of the page, the next page. Okay,
1216 D4 maintenance agreement.
yes.
That will be italicized.
All right. That was, I
I
was a
think,
little
I think it
confused about
wasn't
that.
because that was, we used some of the original language.
Yeah, there was draft control, I think.
Anyway, you're right.
That's key to this thing.
It's not existing language, that's new language.
Okay.
There's also some drawings in the, in chapter 12 that kind of give an idea what,
I did see those on, when I was looking at it at home, yeah,
so there's a number of different ones, just like there is for the
right.
York Beach.
Yep,
Pictures help.
16D4. Is any of current D4 being repealed?
The line through.
D4?
Yeah.
It's, well, D4 was,
Did something shift? There's general
yeah,
timeline.
it's
there?
the general timeline
yep.
section.
It just
It
got
will
bumped
move,
down.
you'll see it, part of the,
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Thanks. So it's now up to us if we think this. should
forward it
go
to the
forward
select board as is or as amended, or however you want to do, it, or whatever. you guys wanna do.
Has the HGC spoke with any members of the select board about any of these proposed changes?
I think Scott has spoken with one or two individually, not in
Right,
a public
informal.
forum. But as to these specific amendments, I'm not sure specifically.
I don't think we've sent it to them yet, have we?
No.
And some of the major changes from the, was it last year or 2 years ago proposal?
A couple years ago, yeah, was that 2 years ago, the first time when?
Seems like it was a few months
year and
ago,
a
but
half.
I don't know.
Similar language, or did town attorney
No,
modify
it's,
a lot?
yeah, it's different. I mean, if we could probably, I mean, HDC, we could have the old document and highlight what has changed, but that one, this one really worked with town attorney in trying to make sure it's legal.
It seems less confusing this go around, and I'm not sure if because I'm more familiar with it, but it,
There's been a couple iterations that we've been, HDC has been working with me and town attorney to try to remedy
Clean it
any
up.
confusions and try to,
But nothing has been passed or even forwarded to vote.
no.
So-
It gets to the select board, I think, last time, and that's where it got tabled. Which it might happen again, I don't know, but
Yep.
it's up to you guys if you want. This is a requirement, as you know, of any zoning ordinance. You're required to hold a hearing, and your next stage is to either pass it forward for them to do their process, or
So if, with the change of highlighting that maintenance agreement in italic, I'll make a motion that we forward to the select board as amended, Article 12, Historic and Architectural Resources.
Moved by,
I'll second it.
second by Gail. Any discussion?
Just to clarify, the maintenance agreement piece is the only amendment you're talking about?
Yeah, as amended, was the only amendment is making that italicized. It's not really an amendment, but it's,
Or not an amendment, but as amended.
Clarification.
That's the only piece you're speaking.
that's, yes.
I wanted to make sure through all of our discussions that we hadn't identified anything else that we wanted to amend.
Moved by Wayne, seconded by Gail. Any further discussion? Mark?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Pete?
No.
Gail?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-1. On it goes.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
So,
for,
so John, when you introduced yourself, when you were spelling your name, you pointed out that it was a victory, V for victory. Do you remember?
Did I?
Yeah, you said C-O,
V-I.
V as in victory.
Victor, I usually say V as in Victor, but if you heard victory, all the better.
Well, I did, and I hope you think you had a victory.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Little prediction there. Okay, well, I appreciate it.
Thank you for all your work on
No,
this.
it's been a team effort. Dylan, the whole commission, our attorney Mary Costigan, and we thank you for your folks' time tonight and your questions.
We want to be part of the team.
Right?
No, I part of the team. I have a reason I voted no, and they know what it is.
So we have use regulations left. Article 4, we also have workforce affordable.
Yep.
Any, I could go either way, so if we
Happy
want
to go
to.
with, we can go ahead and go with Article 4 use tables, just
Okay.
since it's right here.
Perfect. So you've done a lot of work on these, I've seen.
Right, so want to stress that the, yesterday afternoon, I put onto the website a revised version of the permitted use tables. The use table that is attached to the packet for ordinance amendments, excuse me, that was done in conjunction with Pete. Pete started off that document. It's a very good summarization of what all of the uses actually are, each category, and we broke them down into Route 1 and non-Route 1 categories. Otherwise, it would be a significantly huge table to work with, and all of the Greenway districts have their own permitted use table in Article 10I. But in discussing this with Dylan and just kind of looking at all of the details on here, I went back to add, specifically on the commercial side of things, all of the uses. So what I put on the website yesterday is if the board decided to forward this to the select board, this is what the permitted use tables would actually look like. And I'd say with an emphasis on the commercial table, because that is what I had to go back and do, is because each one of these uses has a performance standard attached to it. A lot of these have a performance standard attached to it. Sometimes it's unique to a certain district. Sometimes it's unique to all of the res districts. So what it ends up doing is we have 127 commercial uses, not including the Greenway. There's a lot of repetition. There is a lot of redundancy throughout it. So what staff's trying to really hit on is, we can move forward with a use table. We can make separate performance standards for all of that, but there is significant work that needs to be done on these uses. There's not a lot of clarity in some areas, or it gets a little too granular, if that makes sense.
Just one question. You didn't have a legend on here. What is the red with no mark?
So red in the original version means, and no mark means that it's either just not listed as permitted or it's expressly prohibited. Green with a P means that it is listed as permitted in that category.
Okay.
And blank on the new one is not listed in those current zones.
Not listed in the current zone and not listed as expressly prohibited either.
So that,
And the one that had NP in it,
Yeah, NP expressly prohibited.
expressly prohibited.
Yeah, NA meaning not applicable. So there's some that say, you know, you need a Route 1 use permit as issued by the planning board. Doesn't particularly matter in Biz 1 or Res 4. It's not on Route 1. It doesn't, can't, a Route 1 apply, a Route 1 use permit does not apply in that sense.
so needs a lot more work. Even with all the work.
If you don't mind,
Go for it.
charge in real quick. Yeah, I think when you look at the commercial uses, I mean, this is a good
That's amazing.
This is
work.
a good example to look at, okay, if you were just to send it as is and put it in a chart or graph, you come up with, for example, ice cream stands, there's 4 different ice cream stands. There are laundries and dry cleaning facilities, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 laundries and dry, you know, all with different
Micro
spellings,
differences.
laundry versus laundry, we've gone through that. But there's the performance standards of square footage, on sewer, not on sewer. That needs its own section. It needs a performance section, which you'd be developing a new section in zoning to highlight per the district and that use, what those performance standards would be. And that, you could do that and say, okay, let's forward it and let's add a new section to the zoning ordinance that specifically speaks to these performance standards within each use.
I think we need
That's some work. I think.
that portion at the same time, so there's not an awkward moment if this passes and those don't exist.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was just counting, we have 11 different restaurant uses
Yeah.
throughout there. It's,
So
So I think staff has been, and I know we've talked about it on the future land use ordinance. So staff's opinion is, well, if we're going to do this, let's go through it and simplify the uses, not have 4 different grocery stores. Maybe we have performance standards per the district, right? We'll have to have those. I think those will carry over. Or maybe, you know, that's a debate we got to have as a board, right? When we're looking at these uses within a district, does it make sense? The easy argument is, yeah, this is what was there, and we're carrying it forward. But the harder argument is, this doesn't make sense to be in this district anymore. Why is it there?
100% agree. This document, as it sits, is a wonderful tool to start diving in through all that.
Yeah.
And then my reservation and I guess my push to getting the table done cleanly. We know now that it can't be done cleanly. There is some
It's just gonna
a
look.
little bit of surgery that needs to happen to do that. And while we're back to that, while you're in there phase, I do
That's-
think some stuff needs to be sectioned off. So maybe for a vote, we do residential. Maybe next one is commercial, and you're only focusing on subcategories versus doing all of Article 4 and adding another performance standard article.
I think some of these categories are gonna be quick. It's that commercial category is the real bear.
Right.
That's, the other ones aren't too bad. There's some, but the commercial one's the bear.
commercial's the
A
worst.
lot of
offender by
conditions
far.
and performance-based
Yeah, that's the bear.
items. Yeah.
And not to, well, I would like to cast a little bit of a positive look on that as well, of, you know, you see all of these performance standards based on district or whatever, and sometimes it's saying, you know, you can't be more than 5,000 square feet, but you can't be less than 2,500 square feet. And I think if we, you know, take the time to actually go through all of these and take note of, okay, why is this district like this, but not like this? I think we could actually get a better understanding of the context for each district and make more informed decisions in the future as to, you know, okay, if we do permit this, well, why was it limited to this, to this footprint? Why was it not allowed to have this kind of use, but the neighboring district was?
Right.
So I think we can make a better understanding of what is the form, what is the actual context of these zones, and then build it from there. Because if we look at, you know, we've talked for years now about potentially a rezoning in the future. Having that kind of information, I think, is invaluable to understanding what the actual fabric is.
course, a lot of the context is lost to history, or maybe even made no sense at the time.
Right.
But it was somebody's idea, or it just kind of slipped through.
Yeah, it's looking at the comprehensive plan, in my opinion, and trying to glean some information from that. Maybe even past comp plans too, if you get into the history side, because there's some detail there that we can find in the old one for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, Route 1's a different bear than all these other districts. You know, that's commercial corridor, and that's clear with the original authors of how they set that up, you know, except for the bookends, Kittery side, Algonquin side. It's a scale down, okay? And that's talked about too, but I just think this needs some nurturing, and it's gonna take a little more time to put together.
I think if we sat down or showed this to the select board and say, do you think this makes sense that we we need the tables because it highlights all the problems that we have with the existing thing. But do you want us to just change the tables and not touch any of these things? Because if they say no to that, then they've got to give us some leeway on making an argument why, you know, there shouldn't be 3 different animal categories and all that, and just doing it, even if it takes 2 years to do it.
Yeah, I think we can make an argument or case for why we'd want to make it an easier document for all users to review and use. For example, animals, there's 4 or 5. Laundries, 4 or 5. Restaurants, there's 8 or 9. You know, we can do that, and I think that's compelling enough to clean it up.
Yeah, I would think.
Animal has 10. I mean, you said 4 or 5, there's actually 10.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just,
Yeah, you know.
so, and most of them would be more than you guess.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I guess the next hope, me personally, I would see a good next step would be format, cleanup, and make sure all the performance or conditional items are caught and put in a section. I think at that point it'd be ready to be forwarded.
And one of the things that I see in cleaning up, I already marked half a dozen as I just stumbled through, where it looks like a completely new section. It's actually a continuation of the one above it. It's like the next word in a sentence. And you can sort of tell, because if it says formula restaurants, fruit and vegetable fruit, then it says not attached to the so-and-so. That's not attached to, it belongs in the thing up above.
Right. And then instead of,
Yeah, I mean, there's small things like that, just initial cleanup, so you won't get all confused.
and definitions.
Yeah.
So instead of having the definition in the described use,
Right.
it would be a defined item. So it would just say, small commercial restaurant.
Motels and
to that point,
motels and
there-
hotels is a thing that big, and it's the definition.
Right.
And to that point, there are a number of uses in here that have no definition to begin with.
Right.
So it ends up kind of relying on the extra portion of what's on here for describing what it actually is.
Does anyone feel that this is ready to be forwarded?
Not,
I mean, we could spend more time on it now, but I feel like it'd be better in a different workshop versus a public hearing one. Or
I think it would be
With a supplement.
dangerous to expose it right now.
it'd be nice if there was if we did a group joint meeting.
So there's a joint meeting with the select board on June, at least right now, June 22nd.
Yes, the 22nd.
So let's plan on sharing this with them, kind of works in progress. So they can see, just so we don't continue working on this for 2 years and it not go the way we were hoping.
So to
They
that,
don't want it.
Right.
so if that's the idea, would you like me to go through and double check and make sure that absolutely every go through all the categories, double check and make sure it's kind of the same treatment as the commercial district or commercial uses of every single district? If there's a footnote that has to be added in as a use, just to see the full depth of it all, or?
Is that possible before the 22nd?
I mean, I did most of this week, so yes, I would say so.
Okay. I was like, that sounds like a lot.
I think,
I'll say I can't separate it and make its own, nice looking page and use categories and all that, but I can at least expand the existing formats of what we have
Okay.
and include everything on there.
I think it's work that needs to get done either
Agreed.
way. So if you have that,
Yeah, I think
Bandwidth, for lack of
staff
a-
can set it up where it would, hey, this is what it would look like if you forwarded as is.
right,
Okay.
Commercial is the worst offender by a
It
significant
is.
Oh, for
That's the
sure.
worst. The other ones will be a little
Absolutely.
quicker, but it's still a,
as this format is evolving and getting more refined, it's highlighting its deficiencies of being ready for live.
we kind of thought it might be eye-opening to see it in a form like
Yeah.
this where it's compelling to the reasons why you'd want to make adjustments to want to simplify the code and make it clear.
Why should there be a different category called vehicular use? It's a commercial use. Why not? Why do we have to call it out separately?
Which one?
Vehicular use category, it's mostly in the gen,
The categories were all called out before we started.
Right.
I know, but here's an opportunity
You're
to
questioning
simplify.
it now, yeah, I agree.
Vehicular, is it industrial? Is it commercial? Is it both?
The days when this was going into effect, I imagine it was car dealerships were of concern in town. So you'd had, how many, you had 2 or 3 in town, I think, on Route 1 at one point?
At least?
Yeah,
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
You had Bonneville, you had
Ford.
you had
Yep,
And the
something
one by
else.
Eldridge?
yep. one
I
by
think,
one.
so the idea, those, and you heard of auto miles and things like that. I think those can be very distinctive as far as a use in some
As far as-
respects.
But commercial is a big, broad category anyway.
It's really the performance standards where you highlight, if you have outside show of cars in the front, like that's where
well,
you
one
get
of
it.
the things is that the people who own those dealerships, they want to join up right next to all the other people. Their marketing scheme is to be able to compete on the same street. So you can look at a Dodge and you look at a Chevy and so on, and you don't have to go too far in between. And if you look around, that's how it works. Go up to Scarborough, wherever this is a whole street. You gotta be 20
I think it's Lewiston.
dealers within a mile. What?
Saco, right? I don't know.
Saco, I'm sorry,
Lewiston
Saco,
also,
yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah.
So if you started allowing that here,
Monkey see, monkey
that
do.
wouldn't fit the
I
town of
just thought
York
it
at
was
all.
particularly only zoned for vehicular use. That's what I think.
Yep.
Again,
Put them
it's-
up at the end of,
it doesn't need to have its own use category. It's a commercial.
Yeah.
Right.
You-
Pull it back into commercial.
it's a category of commercial. It just,
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's
Really-
really just the
I can
performance
see
standards.
office, you could even lump office in with commercial, but okay. Residential, office, civic and public use, commercial.
Commercial sort of has to me, it has the flavor of being exposed to the public. It's, people come, they look, they buy. We're an office, yes, you're doing work with the person, but
It's quieter.
it's quieter, and nowadays they do it by telephone or computer.
Still makes money, but it's a less intensive use.
Right. Yeah, business, but not open to the public
Yeah.
as much.
Yeah.
Public-
Sure.
Public facing.
But again, vehicular use,
So vehicular fits public facing for sure.
You're not selling.
So do we need a vote or we just
I
move
think
along?
by not doing anything, I think the idea is to
the answer.
table this for future consideration. I don't think you need to say, you're just not if no one makes a motion to forward it forward, it's just
yeah.
moving on to the next agenda item type of thing.
I'm gonna move on to the next agenda item unless someone else.
Yeah,
Has a different idea.
my last
Yeah,
comment
please.
is I really want to simplify these
Yes.
categories and combine them. I don't think antique store should be treated any different than any other retail store. What you do have is whether it can have outside displays or not. Any retail store can have or have not outside displays, treat it. So again, as an example, antique store is retail.
Okay.
And somehow we'll find a place for landscaping.
Business.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, Article 10F, Affordable Housing Overlay District.
So, as a way to try to get out ahead of LD 1829, which is the new state zoning laws as it relates to residential density, more specifically where there's water and sewer and in municipal defined growth areas, which our growth area is between the two rivers and along Route 1 goes to Kittery. That's our growth area, and that's typically where water and sewer is. So in order to get ahead of that, one of the aspects that I think would be good to do in order to knock off a requirement as part of this, which the law goes into effect July 1st, 2027, would be to look at the affordable housing requirements that will be required as part of this change. Now, if you recall, LD 2003 looked at density before, and we made some modifications as it relates to density. Not too much, because our workforce affordable housing overlay district really was already in compliance with LD 2003 and the density requirements, albeit, I think, one or two zoning districts. So what LD 2003 does and did, it said, whatever your base zoning district is, the density for affordable housing development has to be 2.5 times that base zoning density. So the base zoning densities for residential uses per LD 1829 will be to allow 4 units on 5,000 square feet. That will be the base residential density where you have water and sewer.
Which makes it,
Which, LD 2003, 2.5 times that is an affordable. That law still is in effect, which would equate to 10 units on 5,000 square feet with water and sewer. I'm just, for the purposes of this explanation, just saying it's in the growth area, saying it's on water and sewer. Our affordable housing law requires water and sewer anyway, so. And we have a 20,000 square foot if you're not, and that's gonna be the zoning requirement anyway. If you're not on sewer, it will be 20,000 square feet. That's the minimum lot size when you're not on sewer. So, in order to get ahead of that, I am proposing, staff is proposing, and trying to work with the Future Land Use Ordinance Subcommittee, the Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay District, and making changes that would put us in compliance with that section, specifically as it relates to density. Part of the discussion that we went through I think it was the other week or 2 weeks ago, was also looking at some of the standards as it relates to architectural appearance criteria. There's subtle changes that we can make to that. Other aspects that we had discussed was adding a market rate unit allowance to allow for these developers to do market rate units, or at least a portion of units. And so that's what staff has tried to do. So at this point, I'd like to try to answer any questions that people have as it relates to this, or we could go through each section. It all depends on how you'd like to handle it.
Are we changing the title from workforce affordable just to affordable?
No, I'm sorry, that will just stay as as specified in Article 10F. So it'd be the Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay District.
I think we could go through the section as
Sure.
proposed. First page is not too. Land area trigger was because of 1829.
1829, 5,000 square feet is the big land area trigger. That's what it will be for residential.
Yep. And then because of the land area trigger, we had to adjust the frontage and setbacks.
That's
side and
right.
rear.
That's right. Because of that trigger, we wanted to adjust those in order to make it so people, well, to make it usable, and so you're not building giant towers. You have a tiny little building envelope space within on a lot. So the idea is to make it usable.
Is there anything in 1829, I haven't seen it, that says what kind of setbacks you must have?
No,
Just no greater than base density, is that?
you just can't be arbitrary and make it a,
You
Well,
can't use setbacks to be more restrictive towards specifically multifamily housing and two-family housing. They don't offer any setback guidelines other than just don't make it more restrictive than what you would allow for a single-family house.
yeah.
so why not stay with that?
Stay with that language?
Stay with the setbacks.
So the setbacks end up making another issue of if, let's say, 5,000 square feet and let's say Res 1B, if the setbacks aren't changed, you're left with 500 square feet of buildable area. Only 10% of your 5,000 square feet would actually be buildable.
Yeah. You make it so you zone it out.
You'd still have a 30-foot front setback and 20 feet on the sides and the rear. So
And so is that something the state is legitimately looking at enforcing, that you must change the setbacks to be lesser than what's allowed in the zone?
I think it's more interpreted as you can't use the setbacks to restrict the development.
Kind of two different questions. One is to say, all right, we're gonna increase setbacks to make sure we don't get increased density. And there's others that say, we're not gonna increase the setbacks any more than what we do with a single-family home or multifamily, whatever the case may be. So that's what I'm wondering, is that,
Yeah, the big thing that it talked about is you can't make your multifamily developments, we'll say, more restrictive than the single family. That's what it calls out.
Okay.
It's your dimensional standards. That's it. That's your base. That's all it called out as it relates
Okay.
to that standard.
so again, we're in a residential zone with whatever, 20-foot. Why is the state making us change what we're allowing for single-family home setbacks? Or were you just interpreting that it would look like we were doing it on purpose when we're just not changing it?
But the state wants 4 housing units on 5,000 square feet. So if we can't put 4 housing units on 5,000 square feet, then any zoning that causes that to happen is restricting what 1829 is pushing for.
Yep.
Or we end up with a bunch of 49-foot tall 4 units
Right.
without the width.
Somehow we have to allow for 4 units on 5,000 square feet,
So that's,
period.
And if minimum frontage is
If you want a bunch of
150
tiny homes on there, okay.
so that's the criteria then.
Or if you want a tower with tiny homes in the tower.
Well, again, we've still got 49 feet. I mean, you're only going to get so many in 49 feet, even if you stacked up the tiny homes.
So the language to change the setbacks was in hopes to make the lot more buildable, to try to supersede what's currently zoned, because I'm assuming we're gonna have to get into the dimensional standards to comply with 1829 across the whole
Yes.
growth area.
That's correct.
But this at least covers us.
This is affordable. The thing of workforce, this is the only thing, the focus here is workforce affordable and making it structurally compatible with the requirements of that 2.5 times base density required. That's the big one. And then adding some elements that, hey, can we make this work even better than what the state is saying.
We make it more appealing to developers to actually construct this kind of housing as opposed to just say, hey, we allow this certain type of housing to be built. This way we can offer some kind of incentive, and that's through the market rate portion as well.
Right. That's right. And, you know, a big factor, the big thing in the LD 1829 is it allows affordable housing developments to go up a story to, or 14 feet above your base height requirement. So we added a section as it relates to that. But again, it's geared to greater amount of affordable units being in that affordable housing development, along with the 120% AMI and market rate. So it's, I think actually we're taking a really cool look at this and how to maybe make it more appealing to developers to get a diversification of both income levels in these housing developments and look and appeal of the housing developments. So I think we're on the right, to me anyway, it feels like we're on the right track of doing something pretty neat.
It's closer to break even now, where before it was hard to be profitable doing it unless you were.
Freeland's key always, and then, but with the market rate, and then we're not saying it has to be completely quote unquote 80% AMI folk or lower. Saying we have that missing middle plus market rate plus the affordable, which I think is a good approach when doing this. And we talk about in the comp plan of diversification of housing types, income levels. We're kind of doing it all at once here. And trying to comply with the density, again, that density standard, that's 2.5 times the base density, trying to comply with that requirement that will be in effect.
I think by the time you factor in parking and everything else, that the actual building envelope without reducing the setbacks to this wouldn't be ideal. But I don't think that the character of the buildings built wouldn't be as broad as what I think we'd hope to see
Yeah.
without changing.
Just know that you're going to get pushback from the abutter.
Right, which we buffed up. We changed the buffer language, right?
Oh, well, we changed the setback language. Buffer.
I agree, though. But even so, it's that same 5,000 square foot lot can have the quadplex.
It's still the same buffer standards, buffers and landscaping is still, we just are matching, we're matching the 20-foot
Of
rather
buffer.
than 30-foot, 20-foot setback requirement. We're just matching those setback standards. But you guys still have the same buffer requirements. I think the big section that the board might want to, or if you had a chance to kind of look at, was really, and I was going back and forth, was the visually related section in 12F42, architectural appearance.
I got a couple notes on density that,
Oh, and that's, oh yeah, go for it, yeah.
so we kind of went back and forth on the 500 square feet as it pertained to the 2.5 times, which I agree with the first 4. But I think to calculate the entire building with 500 square feet isn't interpreting 1829 all the way. So I think for the first 10 units is at 500 square feet. But then after that, right, it would be 2,000 square feet. So 1829 is 4 units for the first 5,000 square feet and 1 unit thereafter for each additional 5,000 square feet.
5,000.
So we're
a good point.
changing that from 10 units for the first 5,000, which is a 2.5x,
Yeah.
and then 2,000 thereafter, which would yield you 1 unit.
So
As confusing as that sounds, but
just at the highest level, seriously, 500 square feet?
well, that's so.
It's-
LD 1829 is mandating 5,000 square foot minimum lots, and LD 2003 mandates that you must give a 2.5 times incentive to all workforce affordable housing,
Yes.
which triggers it to be 10 units on 5,000 square feet. For the first 5,000.
So
First, to David's right on that, yeah.
comes out with then, for example, the unit would, the entire unit, including access to it, et cetera,
Parking, yep.
20 times 25 feet. Think about that. 20 feet times 25 feet is 500, just to make easy numbers. Can you picture a dwelling unit that you can get access to that has a front door and steps, and which takes a little space on the land, right? We're separating it from the next unit so you could paint the walls of each one. You're gonna have a couple feet between them. That consumes some more.
Yep. I don't think,
Seriously, nobody's thought that through? That,
I'm not sure how many people will utilize that 10 units.
I agree, but if it's,
Oh, I agree. And I also don't think 5,000 is like the magic number, and you would assume people would divide their lots that way, but we don't have perfect 5, 10, 15, 20,000 square foot lots. So it's going to be, a 7,000 square foot lot, right? In a realistic case, there's going to be some that are 5,000, and hopefully the developer sees that it'd be 400 to 500 square foot apartments or single unit. And
even the 5,000 is roughly 71 feet square, roughly. So, 71. For a house on a piece of land with a
Right.
driveway so you can put your car next to it.
If you get it that crowded, the difference between affordable housing and market rate housing would probably not be very much, because you're not going to get premium market rate housing
It's nutty.
if they're there with, 8 other,
Depends where you are.
yeah.
And that's why
You got
in
micro
situations
units in
like that,
Portsmouth
you build
going
them
for
on top of
a lot
each
of
other,
money.
right? I'm sorry, I interrupted, but
No,
just
But they're still,
trying to keep my
they're not the
sanity.
same.
Unlikely, but
They're not the same as a market rate, single-family or duplex on the same property when you multiply it by, 10 on the same. It's just, nobody's going to pay that kind of money to have that small unit with all these other small units on that one property. So practically speaking, in those cases, it isn't going to hurt to offer market rate because
well, it would be market rate for 30%, not saying that they're all going to be same unit size or have the same view. So if you did the fourth floor as a penthouse suite at market rate at 1,200 square feet, and then the units below it on the first, second, and third floor are divvied up however seems fit.
yeah.
well, David, you called that out. Yeah, that does fit the law. That
Yeah. The
I didn't
2,000.
think of that. Yeah, maybe I did think of that, but
Well, we kept going back and forth on it because at one point it was 2,000, but then you brought up, well, that doesn't allow for the
That didn't
10
meet the
units
standard,
for
right,
the
the
first
10.
part.
first part. You're
But
right.
I was looking at the second part.
Right. No, that's right. Yep. 2,000. Then 5. Yeah.
So you need 7,000 square feet to do 11 units.
It's still pretty decent.
Yeah. But it's not as dramatic when you go to full scale. Let's say you have a 2-acre lot, 6-acre lot, right? It's not 5,000 square feet a unit. It's now 2,000 square feet a unit.
This really opens up options. As we've talked about at the Future Land, the parking's going to always be a thing because people need to drive to work, and there's always going to be these caveats that just make it hard to just completely maximize density. It just is. It's just, you're not going to get there unless you have a perfect lot, I think, in a lot of cases.
And you're limited by lot coverage, what do you say, 70%?
If you do LID standards as determined by you and your specialist.
That's, your buildings with really small setbacks is gonna take up a good part of that 70%. And that may limit you if you throw in impervious surfaces like driveways.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not gonna see the worst theoretical one with those kind of restrictions. Lot coverage, parking, minimum setbacks, and in case of affordable housing buffer. But it's tight.
Yeah.
I mean, Illinois has come up with a proposal very similar but much more restrictive. They're saying no parking
Wow.
is going to be required. And, you know, a host of other things, but that just wouldn't work. I mean, look at, I think of the last couple of proposals we've had, the developers are coming back and asking for more than the minimum parking. Even though we're giving them an opportunity to build more, they want more. They're trying to squeeze in more parking spots.
I think the important thing of this is it gives the opportunity to build more units. However, in reality, in practicality, you're not going to get the maximum build out, I think.
No.
Just because, maybe you do, but I just don't see it.
I see, on the developer side, I don't see a developer coming in and trying to do a for-profit 10-unit. They're still gonna take that same lot and do 4 townhouses and sell them for 1.2 or more. But they're not gonna, this is a lot of work, 10 units to hope that you can find that specific person that, one, hits the AMI boundaries, that can go, that doesn't need more than a 1-bedroom, right? There's a lot more involved with the affordable housing aspect of it.
And you also got fire code, you know, the fire department wants access to the back of the building.
Yeah. Well, and there's all sorts of minimum standards for kitchens and living areas, bedrooms, bath, all that. So 190 is the minimum size for teeny house reasons, but I don't believe that you can build a 10-unit at the 190 square foot standards, right? That's more of teeny house standards.
The unit itself,
I think
200 square feet, you know.
Right. I think the kitchen
Possible.
minimum has to be 250 or 270 for building standards.
Building code allows 190, that's why it's 190 right now. Could you build to the, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Right.
I mean, they have those, like I said, the micro apartments that are coming into Portsmouth. They have micro apartments all over these Manhattan cities, all over the place. So
True.
You never know. I'd say you've got opportunity in York based on the coast and some of the natural features here to maybe do that.
There's not a ton we can really tweak with this, though. This is a state.
The density standard, that's the state. That is the state. The performance, how it looks, how it fits in, how that's, the town can tweak that and to try to match it to the context for which the development is occurring.
And non-affordable housing is still 35 foot. So, in most cases.
It's all 35 everywhere right now, except maybe if you did one in New York Beach Village Center. I think our base is 40.
And you do CD3 is.
CDs, you're right, the CDs is a little different.
Is less for some reason. But again, that's going to put a limit also on certainly market rate multifamily buildings in terms of the number of saleable units on a tiny postage stamp.
The CD districts were shorter because there's a section that gives you height bonuses.
Oh, okay.
So there wasn't a desire to go over the 35 foot, so it worked backwards.
Okay.
Which I don't know if it's worth entertaining that now. There's a lot of single family homes that struggle to stay under the 35 foot in some areas, so.
If someone comes on, this ordinance would prevail in the CDs.
Right.
Because it's still in the workforce housing overlay.
No, but I was talking about changing the base height,
Oh, to something, yep, we can evaluate that too.
but that's
different.
Yeah, but back to Wayne's point about the buffering, I do feel that this amount of density in housing operates differently than a single-family home. Just you have 10 times the people leaving in the morning and coming home from work or whatnot. So I don't know if it's worth looking at some of the buffer language more in depth. I think it says you're supposed to maintain the natural vegetative buffer, but should it be more
Where are you now?
robust? Just off memory right now, sorry.
It just says when the natural buffering does not exist, cannot be fully retained as a visual screen, or in the sole judgment of the permit authority, planning board, is not sufficient to achieve an effective visual screen. First 20 feet of the side or rear yard setback shall be landscaped to create visual screen in accordance with the following procedures. So I didn't include that on here because I didn't make any changes to it. You have to open up the zoning book. Go to 10F.
So that's, I mean,
It's-
that's going to restrict the size. What if we've got a,
The 20-foot buffer, yeah.
yeah, well,
Which
how
is the
that different?
setback.
Yeah.
How is that different from setbacks?
It's not, it matches it.
So 5,000 square foot of workforce affordable housing?
20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet. Yeah. Or whatever the base zone is. So it could be in the village and it's less, you know, it depends on your, whoever's less restrictive is what it says. The base zoning is less for, say, a single family, which all likelihood it's not really going to be, except for the villages, the village district and stuff.
So again, but still, workforce affordable housing, 20-foot buffer.
Yep. Goes
On
from
the side
30
and
to
rear.
20. Was 30, now to 20. That's what we're saying, which matches the yard setbacks.
Okay.
I would almost remove I almost feel that there just should be a 20-foot buffer with the density as it is.
Which it is, right?
No, it kind of gives leeway to the planning board. We can require more, but I feel like there was a time where that kind of slipped through.
Would that be a requirement or a condition?
I think it would be a design requirement.
Where's the language you're talking about?
Page 196. 10F434, is that what you read?
Yeah. The
Sole judgment of the permit authority is not sufficient. So,
So either way, it's 20 foot. They're just saying 20 foot is the natural buffer or as a reconstructed replacement for the natural.
well, so I could argue, oh, this is just this is what's here naturally. I'm good, I'm not disturbing it, I'm not cutting trees down.
And it's maintaining a visual screen. So if you've got
Right.
a bunch of pine trees with only green at the top, that won't be a
That's not a
visual
visual
screen.
But it's up to the review board, so it'd be up to the planning board to decide whether or not that's sufficient. And there's been a time where that has kind of slipped through the review process. So instead it should be, shall have a 20-foot buffer.
Yeah.
The buffer's there, it's just the.
Inadequate.
Yeah, but still the 20 feet though.
Correct.
20 feet is still there, so.
It's a work with the board and determination by the board,
Yeah.
what's adequate or not.
Right.
That's the key.
We had some pretty
That's
robust
the discussion.
discussion at Morehouse Place about buffers.
Yeah, each application will be different, and you got to base it on the merits and what that's next to, and any concerns abutters have and all that. But it is a term of, well, we really need to. Ideally, we see some 3D modeling, and they're showing this is what it looks like with these types of shrubbery. This is the landscape. You got to do some site visits. You really got to get to know that area. It gives that leeway. We're not specifying, you have to have thick, dense evergreens the first 10 feet, and it has to be just so thick. And we don't really do that. We do have some counts in here, point counts and whatnot, but it really is up to you guys, the reviewing authority, to kind of determine what that means.
Right, but
What-
but still, the state's not gonna say, oh, this 20-foot buffer is making this particular lot unbuildable.
I don't think so.
What's the difference between setback and a buffer?
Not in this case, there is none.
Right, it's the same. So if it was 30-foot setbacks and you need a 20-foot buffer, then you could have, you don't need to have a vegetative buffer in that
You're
10-foot.
basically saying within your setback, there needs to be landscape buffer requirements. That's what we're saying here. That's it.
Yep, so they're not gonna say, just, you can't have buffers because
mean-
it makes the lot unbuildable.
Yeah, it's just the setbacks, and then the setbacks, the state law, as we talked about, it talks about matching single-family dwellings with multifamily for affordable housing. So we gotta make sure that's the bare minimum. And then it goes into saying, well, there's a point there where you could be making it so restrictive in your setbacks to make it non-buildable. And that, to me, that's appealable easily, and would probably,
But not a buffer.
it wouldn't matter, setback, buffer. At that point, the setback was made it too constrained to build anything. If you had a buffer, the same thing. Have a 20-foot setback, but a 40-foot buffer.
Well, what about a 20-20?
No touch buffer.
20-foot setback and a 20-foot buffer, are they gonna say that you can't have a 20-foot buffer?
I would say by the state laws and what permit, and as it states in here, it's whatever's less restrictive. The 20-foot meets single-family dwelling requirements per the state law. I can't be more restrictive than single-family setback requirements. Or, as we've stated in here, or if the base zone is less restrictive than that, it goes to that requirement. And then you're right, does a 20-foot buffer then, well, that, in the rare occasion, maybe that comes up, and then maybe we have to deal with that, but I don't know. That would be in the village. That's the only really place, or York Beach.
Well, in the workforce affordable housing overlay.
Which is in the
growth
growth area.
I just see it as operating as more of a commercial. It's residential, but with that amount of density, I feel it's teetering on commercial. But we were talking about this, when's it commercial use or not? Which is why there's performance standards there, but.
Yeah, and to that effect, I think 10F432 should probably more than 10 dwelling units, not 15. That's just my opinion.
432.
In addition, any workforce housing with more than 15 dwellings.
Okay.
That's broad. Shouldn't-
Change that to 10.
Okay, I missed that.
Because it's a
So
tiny,
that's
if
the
you're
5.
tiny lot, big density,
That's the trigger.
or tinier, won't maybe meet that, but whatever. Allowing for buffers to follow that 20-foot. That's the trigger right now for that 20-foot thing.
So to me,
No bigger, larger developments.
for me, the number would be 5, and I'll give a reason why. So the residential, anyone could do a 4-unit on 5,000 square feet with 1829. Giving the incentive of more density, to me, is the trigger of needing the buffering.
Which, if it's affordable, that would be
Right.
10 units per 5,000, right?
But I guess what I'm saying is anything over the standard non-affordable amount would trigger buffering. So if everyone can do 4 units, it has to be affordable to go over that, the affordable housing.
Yeah, I guess I look at the non-affordable as a completely different. If you're building affordable units, affordable development, the density will be 2.5 times that base.
Right.
You get that. That's what you get. And then as part of this overlay, I'm just Why don't you just match that, and then you deal with what you're saying, the landscaping requirement
Right.
in a different section for market rate on what the base density would be, which would be 4 units.
Yeah, it's just.
Because this is just dealing with affordable units,
No, I get
affordable
that.
development.
But we're also dealing with a lot change that used to be like 1 acre, now it's going to be 5,000 square feet. So before, we were talking about 1 acre with 15 dwellings, right? Which is a lot different than 5,000 square feet with
10,
even 5.
even 5. Yeah,
Yeah, we're doing 5,000 square feet of suitable land per unit.
I mean, it's totally different.
Per
It's like-
unit, right? So that's why I'm bringing this up.
be-
Maybe 10 is too much
So
to
you'd
require
be-
buffering language.
So that would have been 9 units. Call it 9, 8, 9 units.
But on how, on
On a
5,000?
perfect, on an acre.
On an acre, yeah, exactly.
You can go up.
But now if we have a 49-foot tall building 40 feet away from another single-family home, that's kind of a towering feeling.
Well, that's where I hope the architectural
Yes.
appearance helps kick in too.
It's just a lot of changes.
Yeah,
just wanna
and
make
if the
sure we're
board,
thinking
if the
about it.
board doesn't feel comfortable moving this forward, I understand. But we're bringing it all up for May.
Yeah.
I think we should try to get this part of it done, if we can.
I think you're right on that density. That's an applicable standard for
The
what you
2,000.
said, the 2,000 per unit after that. That seems to fit the law per the density standard in LD 1829. And it's still greater than what was there before.
Right.
It is. Still good.
Yep.
So I think that's a good find right there. My argument on the 10 units, we'll just match it to that 5,000, but if you think it should be less
I've just,
than
not
10,
to, not to point out a lot, but the one across from St. Christopher's on the corner of Moulton and York Street, I think is 4,900 and almost 5,000 square feet. I don't physically see how 10 units fits comfortably on that lot.
no, I don't know.
With, what, 6 parking spots? It's 2 spots for every 3 units.
No, you probably wouldn't do 10 there, right?
Right. But we're zoning for that potential.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think the market's, I don't think someone's going to build that, but why are we
not-
designing it to,
Yeah, especially
that.
York, not York.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, then you could say that that lot wouldn't qualify, right?
But it would,
Well, if it's an existing structure, there's other compatibility sections in here. If it's an existing building, you don't have to follow density right now.
Right.
If I have an existing building, I think it says the minimal land area, blah, blah, blah. Except if a building to be used of such building is in existence at the time of the minimal land area per unit is not applicable. The building may be converted into workforce supported housing, rental units within the footprint of the if there's a building there, you could put it, whatever, right now. You could put a bunch of 190 square, I don't know how big that building is, but.
yeah.
But just looking to, David's point, yeah, I think the worst is going to be very hard to do with
Yeah.
looking at what a 5,000 square foot, what, a quarter acre, about 5,000 square feet?
No,
oh no.
it's about 1/10 of an acre,
Yeah.
1/9 of an acre.
43,
Oh, that's
560, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
9 of them on 1 acre.
That's right.
8.
No.
8.
8.5.
Worst case.
So you're trying to make it, help it fit, whereas
Yeah,
right now
I
it.
guess make it not reasonable, because I'm not the judge of reasonability, but I just don't see, like, the unit size alone, plus parking with the setbacks.
Oh, I agree.
And this isn't to say that affordable housing's only going to be built on 5,000 square foot lots. I think it gives a buff in density for affordable housing projects in the future.
Does.
Which is very beneficial.
Yep.
I just wish the state didn't,
It's not a one.
like, we were working towards that
I agree.
locally to begin with.
Yeah, I think we would have gone, maybe not to these, we would have got there, but it would have
Right.
taken time, but,
So the point is, I don't think this is, even 1829 is cause for total alarm. Yeah, there's going to be some things pushed in that we'd rather not, but the extremes of this is going to be very hard to reach.
I think for the first time, developers going to say, oh, I don't want to maximize my unit count based on square footage. It's pretty much just saying, build what you think will work on the lot.
Oh, by the way, you have to walk to your car in the shared parking lot, half a mile away.
I will say this about the LD 1829, and this is where we haven't got into the specifics. But staff is more thinking along the lines, if you're gonna build to this density, that residence needs to be your primary residence.
Well, yeah.
So therefore, you might get more of applications for workforce affordable because, well, maybe. That standard's not in here per se, but there are standards for, well, you have to live and work, So I say that, but it's still, you're not gonna get this bunch of second or third homes. The goal is not to promote that. The goal is to promote long-term,
Local
full-time
living and active
housing.
members of the community.
That is my opinion, yes. The goal is not to
But the
promote.
buildings are so small, you're not going to have families.
No,
not
you get
solving
one
for
or two
families.
people per se, but there are gonna be lots out there or redevelopment spots that you're gonna see the York Housings or other developers apply bigger density, better density, plus with this market rate as more flexibility. I think we are onto something. I don't wanna be forgetting long-term residents as well as affordability, hitting affordability standards. I mean, we've talked about the AMI numbers time and time again, and I just like to always kind of point them out.
98 to 120 or something.
Well, they just changed. And I need to find my little piece of paper. Very good, you got it. Where's my little piece of paper? What's bothering me now? It's not here. So, yeah, we're looking at AMI numbers right now. Median income for a family of four is 132,900. That's a 100% AMI, family of four. The low 80% family of four is 106,300. For the individual, that's an individual making $74,450 a year. That's 80% AMI. And again, subsidies can go low, that and lower, go to that number and lower. 120% AMI is an individual making 111,636. Family of four making 159,400. So these are still pretty high numbers too.
Yeah.
As it relates to these standards, so I can understand. I like our approach and the requirement of 80%, up to 80% or lower, and diversifying the housing up to the 120 for rental and or market rate. I think we're doing I think that's a really cool way of doing this. And allowing greater density. So you're doing it all
It's
to
like,
get greater housing that meets the standards in here. You gotta work, live, whatever. If there's standards in here, can't be second homes. So I think we're on the right thing, the right avenue, but I understand It has to, here it is, right here. It has to be a comfort level with the board.
Right. I think a lot of the uncomfort is state
State related.
state related. So it's
The discomfort.
ever since the 5,000 square foot number came out, it's like, how do we make this work and match the character of what this town's been? I'm not saying that the character is going to be drastically changed. Someone has to sell and divide a lot for it to change, but
There are ways and we can change growth area locations,
right. Well, and that's the thing.
but still the sewer water thing is
Right. Then you're at
still
20,000 square
applicable.
feet,
Still into that applicability.
which sounds better than 5,000. That totally changes the talk.
Sure.
Yeah, the workforce affordable housing overlay always followed what the current growth area really is, minus into Kittery. So we were always trying to promote it
100%.
by allowing greater density, period. But now it's a greater density than what was before.
So is that something we need to also look at, or the zone of,
the growth area,
yeah? Or is that
that's a comprehensive plan amendment. It's a different process, but we
Is that
can.
something that should be looked at? Sounds drastic, but
In what way, to shrink it or expand it?
yeah, so if you're not inside the growth area, the minimum density on town water and town sewer turns to 20,000 square feet, which is,
Not
No,
quite.
sorry.
Not quite. No.
Please correct me.
So outside of the growth area, it's still whatever the town has. The impetus for the change is the growth area. If you're not on sewer and water in the growth area, then you're at the state minimum septic size of 20,000. If you are in the growth area and on sewer and water, then that's what triggers the 5,000 square feet. Outside of both of those, if you do have sewer and water and you're outside of the growth area, you can go to 10,000 square feet. And if you are outside of the growth area and not on sewer and water, then it's whatever the preceding minimum lot size is already. So like Gen 1 and Gen 2, those wouldn't change as they are right now.
so if the growth area shrunk,
Right.
any of the houses, any of the lots on town water and town sewer would be 10,000?
10,000 square feet. Right.
So here's the law. If a lot is located outside a designated growth area and an area served by public sewer, a minimum lot size requirement may not exceed 5,000 square feet, and a density requirement may not exceed 5,000 square feet of lot area for the first 2 dwelling units contained within a single structure, so a duplex.
I think I was getting the 10,000 from an amendment. I don't know if that actually passed or not, but the density is cut in half.
A duplex for 5,000 square feet.
Do we have any town sewer and water outside the growth area?
Very small, very, very small.
Cliff House area.
Right.
So I'm slightly confused. I get that. So what currently is the growth area as we know it now? I'm saying if it shrunk, those houses or those properties or those lots, for that matter, what is the minimum lot size
5,000. 5,000 square feet.
if you're on town water and town sewer?
If you're on town water, town sewer, outside the growth area,
But instead of 4 units,
You get
it's
two.
2.
right.
Still pretty high density.
Oh, yeah. But it's half of,
If you're on sewer, water.
Yeah, really, we don't want to be taking houses that have town sewer out of the growth area, because the whole idea is that's where you want to build.
but I think the growth, I agree, but the growth area triggers the density. So you can still, and we're still increasing, this still increases the density by going to the same lot size.
I think sewer is the big trigger, and sewer in the growth area is a bigger trigger. Still a big trigger if you're on sewer and you're not in a growth area. And you can always expand sewer if you're not in a growth area.
But again, 1829 says you can't zone anything to, I don't think you can start changing your zones where the growth area is to limit the amount of growth that they're trying to promote.
You could change your growth area locations to focus in on your urban center centers, like your villages and like your, you could really hone those in.
There's a lot of lots
But-
that I don't think should have quadplexes on them. Like if that was shrunken into the core,
I don't know. I think that would be looked at as,
And that is a public process to go through, another public process to go forth. What is the growth area? Areas, I would say.
to me, that seems worse than not changing your setbacks.
it's not a way to get around. I'm more looking at it as, let's say these are our density laws right now. And we were looking at a map and this wasn't being pushed on us. Where would we say on 5,000 square feet in town, do we want increased density to 4 units per lot? Or if it's in the workforce affordable district, where would we want 10 units on 5,000 square feet? I think looking at the maps isn't unrealistic, and it's not to circumvent this at all. It's really looking at it is, does this make sense in the current zones? Because when those current zones were made, this wasn't the case. This wasn't the density, it wasn't the lot size.
Well, so it is because of this law. It is circumventing then.
No, those zones were created with those zoning numbers. The zoning numbers are now changed, so it needs to be looked at again, in my opinion.
Or you start cutting a neighborhood in half because of one gets it and one doesn't.
Yeah, I
If
think it
you're
could be
looking at-
easily looked at as trying to circumvent.
If you're looking at redefining growth areas in a way that is looking at it from a approach of neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street, it's not impossible. It's just a heavier load in doing the comp plan process of evaluation and do that. It's just a longer process in doing that.
I can see that maybe some advantages, but I think to go to all that trouble, it'd have to be good reasons to do it. And I don't,
And I can tell you, if you've got a street here and this side of the street is in one and the other side of the street's in the other,
But which side would each person want to be on? If you're planning on selling your lot, you'd want to be in the denser side. If you want your land more as you bought it for, you'd want it not to be in that.
most of the people where they are want to stay where they are and don't want change. That's a given. So, yeah, that would just, yeah, that would not go.
So if that's the case, then people would support a reduction in the growth area.
I think
You're right, but the state may not.
Well, I think the sewer again will still grant greater density no matter what.
It'd be duplexes.
For 5,000, you deal with 2 units instead of 4.
Right. And I'm not saying go down to the size of a pin. It's truly look at the major connectors, the roads where sidewalks exist.
Yeah. No, it's a holistic approach to looking at defining a growth area. How we define the growth area through the public process is a carryover from the last comp plan in the areas of which water and sewer are located. And the likelihood for future growth within that defined between the two rivers, and we expanded it that way.
You asked the question where in York, I was thinking along the beach.
More dense.
Yeah, the density, say along Sands, or even up on the hill from.
And those are all non-conforming, most of them down at the beach.
They have that density that we're talking about. Yeah.
They're all non-conforming anyway. Yeah. Based on current zoning. A lot of them.
But that's what it would look like. A lot.
A lot of it could.
Just a thought. I mean, it's a big change. I feel like it deserves.
I don't think you get it done by July, May.
No.
Right.
Redefine growth areas and do zoning. And if I don't think you could do that.
yeah, there's certainly some, people can understand between the rivers and 95 and the ocean. It's nice, clean, it's not arbitrary. You start dividing that up, and I think it'd be a hornet's nest.
The definition of growth area now means something. It's a trigger for something, a dimensional change, a density change.
On the other side. Yeah.
For market rate, it was always, it always meant something for workforce affordable, always.
Right.
Before this ever happened. York was advanced on that front for the growth area and workforce affordable housing and greater density. But now it's market rate too, but like I said, staff's caveat, I think we should look for primary residence caveats if you're gonna utilize those density standards.
Yep.
And then it changes the dynamics, I think, a little bit too. And if you don't do that, then you can fall back to the base, which is now, roughly. If you're not building primary residences, then I don't think you should get that density. But that's an argument we gotta talk about.
Yeah, and so you haven't heard any more clarity from the state on that, have you? I mean, that's the implied intent, housing, not,
I mean, the law is called an act to build housing for Maine families and attract workers to Maine businesses by amending the laws governing housing debt. That's the name of the law.
so, but,
To me, that's not short-term rentals.
but
You know.
we may need to make that explicit in our zoning ordinance, though.
Totally. That's exactly what we will put in there. And the reasons why it's for, well, this housing's for this, based on that, just that definition, or that title.
Yeah, it makes no sense to get all this increased density just so you can get more hotel units.
Or more third homes, fourth homes, but that's an argument we have to be ready to
I mean,
face.
rental homes, full-time rental
Rentals?
homes, absolutely.
For primary, that's primary residence.
But as you say, primary residence, whether it's an owner or
Or
a
rent.
tenant. Somehow that needs to be done, I think.
I think that will be what we will be hoping to establish as part of it,
Good.
as long as the planning board's willing to listen to that.
And, it's not that you don't want short-term rentals, it's just that this type of density is a sacrifice that's only worth making if we're getting the benefits of much-needed housing, in my opinion. And I
Yeah.
think that's what the state was trying to do.
I believe so. And we have, we need some replenishment too.
What else?
Anything else in this one?
Well, I think there was still I think David's amendment makes sense as for the density
Yep.
standard.
I agree.
I don't know if that should also be in that next paragraph
Yes,
as well.
I made note of that for the rental B, yep.
Yep.
Yep, for the first 10 and then 2,000 after, per unit.
Which was the second one?
And
B,
B, it says the 500 square feet again, but
so it'd be 500 square feet for the first 10, then 2,000 square feet per unit after that. Which again is still better density than what's, so.
No, the reason the state put that in there, they didn't want to force, enormous densely built structures. They wanted to keep it still at.
Are we done with this? I just sitting here mumbling, or are we gonna do something?
Waiting.
You've added some architectural standards as well.
Yes, I did. Yep.
That's the new
Does anybody
change.
have any thoughts about that or any questions or concerns? Utilizing some of the standards that you see in other sections of zoning, as well as really the design standards of the beach. Those are pretty universal design standards when you look at them.
It gives you
how
a
they
moment to
talk.
pause and
Yeah. Which I think is a good thing. You can apply that, as what I'm saying, you can apply that. It's not just beachy look type thing. That's the general terminology and architectural standards that are in that section you can apply to other areas.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Which is why you were trying to segue into that when we were talking about a 50-foot tall, 20 by 25 building.
That's right.
If we rewind 20 minutes ago.
You have other standards that would hopefully
Yeah.
not.
I hesitate to do this, but I saw a wording thing that kind of struck me on 10F42A, page 3, buildings, which will front on an existing, that one? Why would we be talking about when something will happen instead of, most of the ordinances say this is this and that is that, not like it's going to, right? If that just said buildings, maybe the word that, front on an existing constructed street, because that's what we're talking about, not buildings that will be on the street, but,
No, that makes sense.
and then next sentence, the same thing, it's which will front, it's saying the same words again, but,
Replace which will with that. Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
buildings that front an existing street, for all newly constructed buildings that front on an existing constructed street adjacent to property, well, and so on. I mean, I looked down further in the same section, and other than number 3, which says the proposed roof shape, instead of saying the roof shape, what do you mean? The roof shape shall be compatible with other roof shapes, you know?
It could be the language in that document you pulled from.
It's,
Actually, there should.
yeah, either do that.
Yeah.
The whole thing is not talking about future, some of it's talking about now, some of it's talking about a plan. A performance standard should be just like
Yes or
a
no?
measure that says, do this, do that, you can't do this, right?
No, that makes
And
sense.
not when you do it.
No, it makes sense. It's just, it was the existing language in there.
Yeah, but
So
anyway,
I think what I would say is buildings that, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, but buildings that buildings that front on an existing
Yep.
or newly constructed
Oh, newly
street
constructed. Yep.
adjacent
that's,
to the
you're
property.
absolutely right, I didn't even
building.
see that, but it's,
Nope.
it,
Yep.
Same below as well, right?
yeah.
Yep.
As soon, no, this is, we all have said that a number of times. As soon as you start looking at the ordinance, and you find something that jumps out with, like me, and it's like, oh my God, I gotta stop, because look at the next paragraph, oh no! And then, but as long as it doesn't mess up the meaning, you know.
Right.
The only question I have with 10F42A2,
42A2.
relationship of materials, textures, and colors. I don't know about colors. I mean, in my opinion, there's too many gray and shades of gray and shades of gray in town.
Shades of shades.
Drive up,
I think a nice purple building next to a green one. or an
Woodstone,
orange
they're
one
all the
would
same
be
color. You ever been to Ireland or been to
Oh, sure.
Caribbean? You know,
Oh.
what's wrong with some color?
Even drive up and down York Street, you'll find bright yellows and reds all over.
And you're gonna have down the line.
I could see materials, textures.
That's up to you if you want to make that.
I mean,
That would be a new
I live in
change.
a house that's, we chose a shade of gray, so I can't throw
That's
stones, but.
But then
That's
there's
existing now, correct?
somebody,
Yes.
there's some feeling, I think, for some people, that if you have a brick house that's right next to a shingle house that's right next to a cement house, it's right, you know, like texture, and that does kind of look goofy and not very
Cohesive?
cohesive. Attractive's a tough word, because that's an opinion, but
Like the middle of historic York Village, you mean?
historic, no,
Brick.
which,
Cement, stucco, wood, shingles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys worry about a lot of things that I don't really worry about. Sorry. No, I'm with you. They don't need to be the same color. I mean,
Trust me,
let people do what they want to do. I mean.
Is that a change the board would like to see?
I'm not worrying at all.
That's the question.
Yeah, it's time to go. It's time for a drink.
It's up to enforcing it too, if the board,
And I don't even have a watch, but my
has there ever
arm
been a
says
time where
it's-
someone's, no, we don't like that color?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
At times, if it's like all the same color house down a street because it's the cheaper way to do it, maybe that, that could be put into question. Oh, can you break up this building mass with a different color on the second floor or something like that? It gives us input if something's just off seeming.
Some historic houses have different colors. I mean,
But this is in the workforce affordable, so we're talking massing of a building.
true, but you're comparing it with the neighbors or
Right.
neighborhood.
250 feet away in the winter.
Oh, let's not get into the standards. Oh, please. This is so much opinion.
I don't know.
If you want to change, we could remove the colors or have something that might state materials, textures, and colors of the building.
The word compatible is up somewhere. I saw it earlier, I think.
That's exactly where it is.
Compatibility is sort of what I think you're reaching for with trying to get down into the specific things. Whether it's the massing or, the overall, right?
It sets the
compatible
mood
with
of the
one
reason
next
of
to
it.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it shouldn't be, it really.
You're not looking for maybe neon, something that would be really off kilter.
Well, there's an example down, there's an example down next, is it the high school, that road that what's the road that runs by the athletic field?
Oh, the purple?
yeah.
Oh, no, athletic.
There's a house, it's just box, boom, went right to 35 feet, I guess. Sort of a flat roof, sort of, a
Yep.
little slope. Boom, boom, it's a saltine box with windows and some doors. It's the ugliest damn thing.
They're all
Well,
white.
to your,
They're all
My
white.
opinion is.
They're going from gray to white, yeah.
Compatible is like beauty.
Compatible.
It's in the eye of the beholder.
that's right. If there's a majority of board members that think that pink with polka dots or whatever on it is compatible
Any
with,
pink shirt is not acceptable, by the way.
that's a discussion you can have.
Modern beachside house.
I just thought.
Yeah.
This new,
Modern look.
Since it's
Purple
affordable
ones.
housing, I'm
They-
pretty
they
sure the
look
whole
nice.
point was for it to
They add,
I like variety.
yes.
be aesthetically
next,
pleasing and not exactly
is,
stick out like a sore thumb.
The idea is you don't
Minutes
necessarily
and-
want it to stick out like a
However,
sword.
we don't need to police it to this level. I think that
Right.
kind
There's a
of what,
fine line between
Mark over there.
recommended and being overly
yes,
granular.
And
agreed.
there's some back and forth the board to understand what that might be.
Yeah,
If something, I don't think a member's gonna bring up a color issue unless there's a color issue.
Unless it's, whoa.
Right. So having it in there and not,
Different board members, you might have a different opinion, but
A real whoa color.
that's where the debate happens and it allows for that debate.
I don't want to hear any complaints when I bring up my 38 home subdivision with lime greenhouses,
yeah.
all lime green.
and it's
And
brick.
not just lime green, but they have to be neon lime.
Super glow in the dark.
Go in the dark, right? Find my way home on a late night.
So we should leave that in there? Is that
Just
the
leave it alone.
That's a,
town staff suggestion?
I think there's room for discussion based on the merits of a particular application for that. What is the compatibility within that area? And I think at any point in time, somebody could paint their house, because there's no restriction unless you're in a historic district or something like that, something not
Whatever that
obvious.
Right. We actually had an application where the color was approved in the plan, and they had a problem, they didn't have the siding color available, and they put a different one up.
Yep, that was the,
That bummed me out, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
that was the auto parts place, right? Wasn't it?
Somewhere.
we won't say.
Yeah, we went, sorry.
That's behind us.
Yeah, it's behind
Okay,
us,
never mind.
literally.
Wrong one. Oh, yeah, I know, I remember. Now I know what you're talking about. So, really, even the way it's written, it's vague enough and up to any person's personal opinion that is questionable. So this doesn't look like a strict requirement or a rule. It just,
Tries to
Looks
get
like a
to anything that
suggestion.
would be really abrasive. Gives the board something, and I don't know what that would be, but I bet it's out there.
it
might
says
be
shall be compatible. That
something that's
depends on who's compatible.
multicolored, really.
Giving me a challenge now.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying.
So next,
The rest of it
So-
seems
looks
reasonable.
great.
I don't know.
Everything else looks
With
amazing.
the
Good
architectural
job.
appearance
Yeah,
section,
yeah. Roof lines, lines and so forth. We're used to that with Route 1.
I think the building mass, rhythm, and scale is the important one. That's gonna,
Yes.
Yes, right, that gives you that differential treatments
Yep.
that beach design standards talk about, is using popping out of certain, structural components and utilizing materials and whatnot to do breakup.
and if it's
The
not
rhythm.
fitting in the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah, it gives more to it. And just for your knowledge, Brendan did talk to Fiona at York Housing to review these proposals, and I believe there wasn't too.
Right, the feedback was very positive.
Yeah. And the whole
Opens up.
market rate thing, they don't have to do it. It's just that it's an option out there.
I
That's,
think she had a comment regarding that.
Right, her comment was something along the lines of, it would make it a lot more appealing to independent developers, just because it makes a balance sheet a lot nicer from their perspective.
in fact, they may not, may enable them to not cut corners in other ways that they may do now, simply because they got to squeeze the most amount of units in this most amount of space. Maybe it would be an improvement overall. No, the rest of it looks okay to me.
You added the pedestrian access part, that's new.
Yes,
I like,
that's new.
I think that's a benefit.
Yeah, like I said, we were adding more density allotments, but we're also some more performance standards too that speak to look, speak to pedestrian access and flow, speak to other aspects of building and development.
Yeah, I was happy to see that also.
Any other comments on this?
No.
You want a straw poll if we think it's ready to go forward? Or just make the motion?
It's up to the board. There's just one thing of clarity, and correct me if I'm wrong, the buffers and landscaping. You had talked about a 5, I had said drop it to a 10, from 15 dwelling units to 10 F432, or leave it as is, that's up to you.
It was just a new change, so I was contemplating it a little bit.
Let's say 10.
10's a good number.
So if it's 9 units, you don't need to do the buffer.
You don't have to do dwelling units, but a resident shall comply with standards 10F433 through 10F435.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
So there's a lot of things that aren't going to be triggered.
We're lowering the threshold from 15 now, right?
Right.
So it would,
But it's lowering the threshold to 15 now
But you
on
get
a
greater
3/4
density.
acre lot
yeah,
with not the same density. So it's
it's a little different.
I feel like every time we do any change, it needs to be looked at with the current facts, not
That's
what it once was. Like, yes, we're reducing.
Well, maybe I
But
can.
it's increasing.
Maybe I can fool some other people with
Yeah.
facts. Or non-facts.
No, I don't-
So that
You mean
was
Dave.
agreed to go.
educate.
David's on it.
should it be 5 then?
And that was my question I was proposing. So a single-family lot can do 4 units. If you want to use, if you're going to do affordable housing, you can go up to 10 on, right? So the reasoning for saying 5 is that that lot would be operating differently than if it wasn't affordable housing. So the trigger is going to 5 units is operating more than what someone could build a quadplex on, or 4-unit townhouse or whatnot, which is more intensive than we'll call the base maximum use. And that was my justification for going to 5.
5.
I'm open to a different number.
I'm okay with that.
Of course, the notion of when this was written was because it's workforce affordable housing, we want to allow much more density. I mean,
Right.
that was sort of,
Right.
turns out because we need more workforce housing. More density being only one more than you can have on a basic residential lot doesn't sound like it's meeting the intent of affordable. I mean,
Like, could we get, yeah, the minimum lot size was 3/4 acre before.
yeah,
And it was base zone setbacks, of which sometimes is 30 feet, or, you know what I mean? So everything
and
Your
this-
elbows are
this
being forced to
diminished everything.
get brought in.
No,
Which
no,
is less than.
How about,
two
how
acres.
about you do 2 times the residential lot, which would be 8?
So you're looking at
That
an
is the
acre and a half.
maximum on a similar lot.
Requirement came into effect now.
But, you know,
I think an argument for 5 would be that not only will it be
1 3/4.
closer, but possibly higher.
We're just doing math right now. So 1 3/4 acres is when you could say you could put 15 units on 1 3/4 acre on a perfect lot.
Right.
1 3, 15
That's a big
units.
lot.
That's where this standard would apply. 1 3/4,
It's almost
15
2 lots. It's
units.
almost 2
On a perfect lot that you can get the density.
and get all of the necessary requirements
1
for,
3/4
With the
acre,
current standards,
current standards. On a perfect upland lot.
30-foot setbacks,
so,
buffer.
so is that saying 15
Right.
is still okay?
I'm just saying the density is 5,000 square feet per unit.
Yeah.
That's what it would equate to.
And you're talking 1 3/4 acres?
1 3/4 acres is where this is the size of the lot. To get 15 units at 5,000 square feet per unit,
Somewhere around 75,000.
that's where the buffer standards goes into effect now is 15 units, so roughly it's.
On 1 3/4 size.
That's
lot.
right, that would be the size.
So now
where
the
this goes into
trigger,
effect.
we're just talking about what the trigger is for.
So
when
now you're
it's
saying
applicable.
5 units, it doesn't matter, it would just be 5,000 square feet.
I don't think it would make sense to do 4 or less, because that's putting a restriction on for no reason. That's a,
Right, right.
5 was just, that's what makes this different from a single-family lot, or a
Or a
standard base lot.
standard multifamily.
Yeah,
And then anywhere above that is whatever the board feels is the right trigger.
So the one thing I'm trying to keep in mind when we figure out what this number should be is the part where if it's 10 or more units, 30% of them could be market rate.
Yeah.
So if we limit something and start it at 5, is there any kind of conflict? Because there's no chance for them to qualify in the smaller space for a 30%. A developer would, that piece where 30% can be market rate is, again, we've talked about this in the York housing, like Fiona was saying, is that's where it becomes really attractive to a developer to want to build the affordable.
Right?
So if we do 5, which I'm fine with,
Okay.
because I like the density of that better, but
It eliminates that option.
it eliminates the option to attract developers who would see the 30% as a reason to get more invested in it.
You could run into subdivisions now where each lot could be broken out
And then if you, I mean,
differently.
yeah, I mean, we want them to do the affordable because that affordable housing, workplace affordable, does imply that you're going to be selling this for full-time use. But for a developer to want to get engaged in that, they also want to have some opportunity.
When you said 1 3/4 acres, why? Where is that?
So I'm basing off the current standards say 15 units triggers the landscaping requirement, right? The minimal suitable land standards is 5,000 square feet per unit, current. So 5,000 times 15 is 75,
5,000.
which is roughly,
Okay, 1 3/4 acres. Okay, got it.
Yep.
I mean,
I
it
guess
seems
I
reasonable.
agree that we don't want to disincentivize affordable housing, but on the other hand, beyond a certain point, they're also going to be allowed another floor, and I'm thinking of the neighbors. It's one thing to have, you know, a 49-foot house 20 feet as opposed to 5 feet from your property.
Well,
We're also talking just buffering.
Right, but it's, in effect, it's a setback.
Yeah.
Financial setback?
No, it's a,
Well, no, it's within the same setback. You're not getting a dimensional restriction, you just need to put trees.
Let's put
the
trees in it.
setback. Think of it that way. It'd be one thing if it was an additional, if it turned it into 40 feet, but it's 20 feet, still 20 feet. You just need to plant trees if you're more than 5 units.
and if you're on a 1 3/4 acre lot, then it's just using 10 as the number, right? Only 1 or 2 of those buildings are gonna be on, next to this residential lot, the one lot.
this is before.
They're spread over this 1 3/4
That's
acres.
currently, though, but after the 1829, it's going to be a lot denser.
yeah, you're just saying right now, 1 and 3, that example is just current standard applied based on current language. And then you think about it, well, right now we say 1 unit per 5,000 square feet. Minimum lot size is 3/4 acre right now. So now we're saying, okay, if you do 5 units on 5,000 square feet,
25.
you have to do buffer.
2.5, isn't it 2.5? So,
Well, that's why I said 10 units, because 2.5 is the allotment, because it was just easier to kind of think in those regards. It's 2.5 times the base density. You're allowed, 4 units on 5,000. 2.5 is 10 units. Therefore, would trigger the landscaping requirement, because you could do 10 units on 5,000 square feet of affordable housing, period. If you were just going to do 5 units of affordable housing, workforce affordable housing on 5,000, that also would trigger that
Right.
standard.
But at that point, you might as well go up to 8, 10.
Mine was suggested was 10 because
No, I'm saying if the developer, if you're triggering a landscape
at 5,
buffer at 5, why not do more? If the law
maybe
allows it.
incentivizes more density to, maybe, I don't, yeah. It's an interesting,
But you just said it doesn't change density, because it doesn't change setback.
no, we're not changing this. Again, setbacks and buffer are the same standard, 20 feet. Just think of that. You have to put a buffer yard within the setback. You have to put buffers in the setback. That's it. Setback and buffer are kind of interchangeable in this discussion.
The overlay,
They are the same requirement.
the overlay the space.
20 feet, but however, in that 20 feet can't just be a lawn. It has to have trees and plantings.
Like we would do for all the commercial buffer yards, right?
Most, yeah.
Commercial next to residential.
Yep, yeah,
Which
very
is-
similar. It's very similar to that. Yep. It's just, we're trying to figure out, well, 15 seems high. 10 seemed, to me, felt appropriate because you get that density standard, and David's saying 5, because, yeah, that's still a way greater density standard on a tiny lot than what is now.
I'll go with 10. 10.
10 seems
10?
not very buffery. I don't know. I can just see it. First of all, I don't think people are going to do small projects. Really.
No.
It's not, it doesn't math out with our land costs. If lots are selling for 300
Yeah, I don't know.
million in this town.
And who knows what lots will sell
Hard
out
to
at
be
this
affordable.
point too, right? When we change the density standards, it would be interesting to see what lots will sell at with this standard. Does it bring down the price or well, geez, I don't think it will.
I'm still more towards the lower end, like 5 or 6 units that would trigger it, but I just, again, I'm going back to that parcel corner of York Street and Moulton. How many units, if you were the house to the left of it, how many dwelling units in that building would you feel would need buffering for you to live comfortably with, at that point, 5 cars, 6 cars? In and out.
With the Cape Cod house on it now,
That's 4,900 square feet about.
because it goes down and back.
Yeah, it was just like that shape.
that-
It's the most viewable one I could find, I guess.
Yeah.
So if it's not gonna change density, it's just a matter of looks, is all
It's
we're
just
talking about.
a tree cost, shrubs and meeting 7.17.
Yeah, the setbacks are the same, everything's the same. You're just saying at a lower unit count triggers the buffer standard. And it's 5 or more, which makes sense because 5 or more would have to come to you for review.
We have the same buffer standards with subdivisions at times, right? 7.17?
The open space conservation?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Right.
depends. But there's a bigger front, and then, yeah, it's more or less 30 with the 20.
Right. So it's something we do already in dense environments. Like
Is this 5 or more or just 5?
5 or more.
5 or more.
5 or more.
That's the debate.
Then if we went with 10, it wouldn't come
It
in
wouldn't,
front of the planning board.
well, no, it wouldn't
Oh,
trigger the
still-
buffering requirements and section 7.17 and site
Right.
and subdivision for landscape standards.
That's right. It's just what triggers the landscaping buffer yard requirements. That's the question.
And so
5 or
So you want to say 5 to ensure there's proper,
I'm just looking
Buffering.
at if a affordable housing development gets built on a 5,000 square foot lot, how many units does the board feel comfortable with before requiring buffer standards? So to me, a quadplex would be a need for, let alone affordable housing. I think looking at buffering language with 1829 in effect should be a thing.
I think in a way, if you say it's 5, a lot of the folks are coming with bigger ones anyway, right? 10 or
Right.
more, usually. How many times I know in my time, I haven't seen any smaller workforce affordable housing developments come forward.
Like efficiencies, like 600 square foot?
Nothing less than.
Oh,
the ones
project
we've seen-
size.
Project size.
Well, yeah.
The number of units have always been greater than 10,
Right.
always.
But that's because of the land costs. You gotta divvy it up.
That's certainly part of it.
We've got a 5,000 square foot lot with 20-foot setbacks. We're saying 20-foot setbacks. That doesn't leave very much for a building.
Right. Talk to the state on that one.
On a 50-foot wide parcel, that would leave about 10 feet of buildable area.
so my next question was, how many lots do we have that would even qualify for this level of affordable housing application?
Not a lot of new ones, but a lot of the base zone standards now
There
are
it is.
1 lot, 1 acre minimum, currently 1 acre.
Right.
So if people start like, this house was left to the estate, I'm gonna make as many lots as I can and sell the single-family home. So then you have a lot of 5,000 square foot lots. Not all at once, obviously, but
But you're not talking workforce affordable now, though, so.
it depends on the price and if any developer wants to. If the math's out, they're coming.
Yeah.
If I can pick up a lot for $50,000, if the market's oversaturated, I can definitely make it profitable to build 10 units at whatever size.
The 5 or more still covers your concern regarding
I'm, ju-
the percentage of, or I'm sorry, the point you brought up, not
yeah,
necessarily.
I'm just
concern.
saying there's so many things that you have to
Juggle.
juggle when you're trying to figure out some of this. And
No.
is that at all a point?
Yep, nope, I agree.
I mean, and the other thing, I mean, as the comprehensive plan was developed, I mean, what actually do we see these streets looking like? I mean, is it that the way downtown York is now?
More
Or
dense.
is it, yeah, I mean, when the comprehensive plan, people were thinking things through, you know, are you looking like downtown Boston, where lots of different things are right next to each other? Or do we still have more density, but we still want to retain a family, you know, with a yard where you can go out and play in the yard type feel? And as we have these discussions in these meetings, sometimes I feel like we're going one way and other times we're going another way, depending on, and so that makes a difference to me in all of these things that we talk about, is what is it that we're really looking to have happen?
I think bringing up the point of how do we want certain areas of town to feel and operate like,
Yeah.
which that's where I was going with the growth area change, and not to, we don't need to go back down that road, but that's where my head's at when I'm seeing that stuff. Like, it seems, it's almost a need to do another comprehensive plan with such a drastic change in density and setbacks, and
They don't mirror, and, I mean, they do.
it's not the same town anymore with these standards at the state.
Yes,
You're talking about a totally different thing. Take all of Section 5 and throw it out the window in the growth area.
Some areas, I will say.
Right.
I will say, we allow maximum density above commercial uses. We do other things within some of our areas, Route 1 and villages.
But it'd be one thing if we were coming in here and saying, okay, in Res 1, let's reduce this a little bit. And you can back into these changes slowly. But when it's kind of like a blanket change,
Yeah.
that is drastic. So yes, it does sound drastic to do another comp plan or at least visit that type of thing, but we didn't ask for this.
right. 100%.
And you're exactly right, like how, pick a zone, go to a neighborhood, apply that dimensional standards to that neighborhood. It's not that neighborhood anymore. In 10, 20, whoever knows. Yes, you're right, the person that owns that 2-acre lot, they like that 2-acre space. But when they pass on and someone else gets it, maybe they prefer 16 lots and all the money that comes with it and sell it and move somewhere else.
Well, I mean, that's how towns have always evolved.
But by choice.
You know, it started out as a one-street town, and then you add on and you add on. I mean, that's just natural growth.
But the local municipality plans that versus the state coming in and doing a large.
Some of the best, some of the cities that are the most well-loved had none of that planned growth. They just evolved gradually by, this area's getting successful, we'll build this, we'll build this, we'll build this.
David's saying the problem is it wasn't state mandated, which this is.
If we were sitting
State
here,
steps in and says, this is what.
It was state allowed, and there was no density
Right, not,
limits.
I'm sorry, not mandated, but
Current
state meddle
complex,
with-
we've had this
meddle with
conversation
your
in a
town's
previous meeting,
plans.
kind of jogged my memory, is if this wasn't affordable housing,
like a
would-
multifamily,
yes, it would still come to the board at, what was that threshold? 5? So what's the problem with keeping that kind of same across the board between affordable housing and none? It's kind of going back to your point. So it'd be 5 or more. So theoretically, for affordable housing, an applicant can come in with 10, 15, because it still qualifies as that 5 or more. But it's kind of flipping the switch to come in front of the planning board at that 5, which is the
That's the other argument. You're basically saying it's a multi-fam site plan review, and the standard is this, assuming it's affordable housing development, because this is the standard.
Well,
in
that's what I'm saying, to have them mirror.
You don't have that
each other.
standard in the other multifamily. If it is market rate right now for multifamily, we don't have this type of buffering standards.
You can
We
have
have
a
a very-
luxury condo
Yeah.
development with no buffering.
Yeah, we have,
requirements.
the standards now are, different. We have to come up with different standards based on the laws that are coming in to match some of these
That's what I'm trying to figure out, is how to make
performance
them
standards we want, but.
consistent, so you don't have one entire product by its own rules and regulations, and another thing but they're both
It's a good point. I
housing.
mean, it's an easy argument. 5 would come before the planning board. What are the performance standards the planning board would review as based on that, that structure? That makes sense too.
It never was necessary before, but with this type of density increase in the non-affordable category,
I like that, yeah.
then without stopping that, without trying to halt it and fight the state on it, there's reasons to make them more similar to a affordable housing complex, perhaps. But
5 sounds,
that's a different bridge, though. What about this?
yeah. 5 I like that argument with 5.
Yeah, I think,
Five's the winner.
yeah, I do like 5, I just need a little time to wrap my head around it.
No, I know.
Because
I've been, the second
it's-
this 1829 came out,
Yeah.
I was like very saturated in how it changes the town.
No, absolutely.
It will be interesting. I think we're well equipped to react to anything that might come out that's negative, but
The thing I did think about was trash. So going back to 5,000 square foot lot, 10 trash cans, or a dumpster large enough for 10 units.
It would have to be a dumpster.
so there's still trash requirements in the site sub regs. They have to be fenced in trash
Yep.
receptacle.
Yeah.
Not in the setback.
That's
Houses
correct.
getting smaller and
That's
smaller.
not an appropriate buffer. I mean, in all reality, someone could, who has a bone to pick, and wants to do an affordable housing, could look at that 20 foot and be like, I'm gonna fight you on that. I'm gonna appeal you, that's too restrictive. Well, could they lower it? Sure, they could lower it. Couldn't get rid of it entirely, but maybe they could lower it to 10 or something. I don't know, but I think that's
That'd be an appeal for us if this is state.
it would be an appeal through the appeals board and then potentially Superior Court.
I would say, because
If it got to that point
That's-
for an affordable housing development. So I would say, it's unlikely, but
I feel like
Good.
that's a state level.
they're not like New Hampshire. They don't have a land use court appointed section yet, but I guarantee that will be something.
I would say that might be coming down the line.
Okay. Where did we land? Was it
We're landing on
1-5.
5.
5, okay. So is this ready to forward?
And then the other stuff was just the market rate, building height increase, and the pedestrian access.
the building height concerned me, but not as much now with the rhythm, mass, and
The architectural
standards.
standards.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good component to any building height increase.
because 50 feet might look good somewhere.
Good.
If you have the land spacing and proportional width and
I
depth.
think it's a more holistic approach or review approach to it.
Okay, let's go on.
Okay. Anyone have any other items on this? Is the feeling to forward or to move along and wait till send this with everything else
I-
by January or July.
I'm willing to move forward.
Me too.
And if they do shoot it down, we'll figure out why, that is the select board. If they don't put it on the ballot, we'll figure out why and
Gives you
what we need
time to
do
adjust.
To get it on the next time around.
We might do some adjusting too as it comes up to May as well. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have a chance if there's anything that looks like really flawed, then. Okay, should I make a motion? I move that we forward Article 10F, Affordable Housing Overlay District Amendment to the Select Board for consideration on the next ballot,
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Moved by Wayne, seconded by Gail. Do we vote? Mark?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Chair votes no, 4-1. Okay.
What else?
Minutes?
We got minutes and
We
finance.
do have some minutes, right?
Yeah.
From May 28th. So, on the second page, right around line 45, 46, I guess, and I saw it again at 93, 94. Seems like we need to have something in there that says what happened, what's next.
After the sketch plan?
Well, no, yeah, it's a sketch plan, and it comes down, and last thing at, paragraph at 42, Brendan Somerville noted that Unit 1 deck parking space were encroaching, blah, blah. The development is not required to include workforce housing, period. Boom, tropic star.
I agree with you. I was looking for like a conclusion
Well,
or.
usually we say, okay, you need to have better materials, and this one, we'll continue it until new materials are accepted by the planning staff, or it's going to be continued to a date certain or something, but it's just not.
So to that point, since it was a sketch plan, there is no continuation for review or motions on that, of that sort for it.
Okay, but it happened again on another one, which wasn't a sketch plan. But nonetheless, it just seemed to me in the minutes that there ought to be some conclusion or some end point that said, the applicant will go back and reconsider the application, even that, right?
Yep. I
Anything.
agree.
And I don't know, in this case, because of what it was, Walter Wood's new duplexes, right? Knowing him, he's not gonna give up on that. So,
Maybe the applicant was satisfied with his questions being answered and will return
how about
at a
that?
future date.
The applicant appreciated the board's comments and suggestions and will return at a future date.
May return at a future.
May return at a future date. So, that's that.
So you're saying the same happened after the,
Well, I'll stay on this page. At 56, I can't end up on this board in July without doing a couple of these. It's just, it's reminiscent, right? Patience, you'll understand, won't you? I still love you. Okay. Pete Smith moved the board approved the chair, even though he's not in an application, to participate. It's I forget what you call that, but it's a split infinitive or something. Move that the board approve the chair to participate in the discussion move the even though he's adding abutted the application to the end of that sentence.
So.
To participate in the discussion even though he is an abutter to the application. You move the words even though through he is an applicant, abutted the application, move that phrase to the end of the sentence. Pete Smith moves the board approve the chair to participate in the discussion even though he is an abutter to the application.
Okay.
The word, yeah. I have a question on application, or if it should be off-site improvements, just for clarity. So,
Well,
an abutter to the project versus an abutter to the off-site improvements. Because I'm not near the property, I'm near off-site improvements of the project.
To the project
Related
extents.
to the application, right? Oh, yeah.
Project impact?
Project extents or impact would be.
Yeah, on the plan, it said, limit of work or something.
Limit of, yeah, that works.
The work it works though.
Or construction.
So an abutter to the limit of work, or to the, it's off-site improvement as well, right? Traffic change?
You want to, in other words,
exactly.
clarify it by saying to the limit
Yarn
of
cellar
work,
area,
What cellar?
yarn cellar.
Oh, okay.
because they, in this version of the application, they came up with a new traffic.
Or limits of project impact.
sign.
Gotcha.
But I didn't get a notice, or, to me, an abutter is someone that would get a notice that's within that range, but
But you were the one that asked us to make sure.
100%.
Yes, per our definition.
I think this works in its simplest form.
Yep.
Without adding.
Yeah, no, I'm fine either way. I was just offering,
Line 65, 64 and 65. Let's see, talks about be reviewed as currently presented for the purpose of review, so that's duplicating. I would take out for the purpose of review and the word not, and have, so review as currently presented, comma, but not considered as complete for review. So I would add but not considered in front of the word as on line 65.
Can I make a suggestion
Do
on
whatever you
that?
want.
I think we did review it. We made clear that it was complete for review, but not complete for approval, for consideration of approval.
No, we said it wasn't ready for review, but because there were so many other people here that wanted to talk, and so on, that the chair agreed that we would allow
Okay.
them to present.
I think the wording was for the purpose of review.
Okay, I misunderstood
Yeah.
at the time. I know that was part of the case, but you can review something, you can be complete for review, but not complete in terms of,
Completeness.
The board is free to then not allow it to be.
But in this case, it wasn't even complete for review. That's the point. We point, I forget what.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Brendan about this. So really the board, and we've had this discussion with other applications, if something's not complete and there's a full house, the appropriate way is to say, okay, we're not going to accept this application as complete for final review. However, we will accept this application complete for sketch plan review in order to open up a public hearing. That's, I understand what happened here, and it's a little hard because to me, it's like, I don't think the board's intent was to open the application to accept the application as complete for final plan review. I don't think you made that was the intent of your.
No, we made that clear prior to making the motion as
It
well.
sounds like the applicant was digging in. They didn't want you to accept it as a sketch review.
Right.
Where are we?
Well, with a see you later, bye. not accept the application as complete. And
But you accepted it as
Right.
something.
But that's
and you
where we
allowed
could
it,
have been.
but you allowed it as a, right, you could have said not accepted as complete because you're
So we
missing
could
that,
hear the
and
public
then
comment.
seal. But you wanted to hear public comment. To me, the way to do that is to accept it as a sketch plan review, because that allows public comment formally.
If
for
the
the-
applicant agreed to it.
And if not, then it's, yeah.
Right.
Well, then we're not ready to hear this.
So,
So future protocol would be,
So we're left with this right now in this weird thing. However, I would recommend at the next meeting, you open up the public hearing again. And ideally, it's an acceptance of the application to clarify acceptance of
If it is
application. from
complete.
landlord. If it is.
so just to be sure, if you're okay with the
Yeah.
wording change, just be sure patients got it right. Line 64, it would be 834 US Route 1, map lot 94-19, comma, be reviewed as currently presented, but not considered as complete for review. So we're saying we'll review it, but it's not complete.
Hopefully, it's not a,
That could be-
we'll see where we go.
it could be argument,
Well, I mean,
argued
it-
Yeah.
that you accepted it, period.
Yes,
At
that,
the
that
very
would be
least,
the
we
argument.
need to take, at the very least,
But you
there's
did
some redundancy about reviewing.
You start getting into intent, and what does that mean?
But we, all the time, we accept for review things that don't have everything done. They may not have the signature of the
Yeah.
of the sewer district. But we accept it, we're clearly clearly saying that that doesn't mean that we've granted a waiver for it.
No, you just locked yourself into the ordinance at the time of acceptance, and you've locked yourself into a timeline, should they push you to make a decision. And if they do push you to make a decision and still things aren't to your satisfaction, then you, well, okay, motion to deny.
Which is why we've never got into that.
We've never gotten there, and I've never seen it with a board. In any of my boards of 22 years of doing this, I've never seen an applicant push, because they'll get denied, and then it's a longer process for appeals and everything else that happens after that. But you never know. Not saying it won't happen. You never know.
Okay,
Do you think at line 70 or line 69 before, there should be something stating that the following people testified, or whatever the word is? Because it says, I made a motion to open a public hearing, and it passed, and then went right on with a whole list of, it's okay, but I'm just wondering if it flows right for you.
Wouldn't hurt, I guess, to say,
The public hearing, the following people spoke at the public hearing. And then make it as,
Yeah.
because it's almost like a bullet list that doesn't exist. All these people here in separate paragraphs from 71 or 70 down through to 90, I guess. No, even 93.
86.
Well, the town engineering Dean Lasard also spoke.
Yeah, line 86, I closed the public hearing.
86?
So
Yeah, there we
that
go.
book ends it there, and then
Yeah.
the motion opens it, but
So I would, Patience, I would propose that you put, after line 69, the following people spoke at the public hearing, and then do a bullet list of those people,
okay with me.
down through to 85, and then the next text sentence would be 86.
the bullet list of what's currently there. You don't want like a list of their names and then this, correct?
No, just put
Okay.
bullets in front of these
Nope,
names,
I was just
right?
clarifying.
Yeah. At line 93, again, I have, it just came to a dead stop and didn't say what happened next. And we went on to York River Landscaping. So
Did we do a motion to continue? We weren't really done.
I don't know. I don't remember it. I'm sorry.
There was no motion to continue the application to a date upon submitted material.
I don't think so. I don't remember that. I think they already understood that they weren't complete yet, and that we were doing this because they weren't really complete for us to review.
I agree with that, yeah.
And so that they just sort of talked and said, okay, well, please finish your stuff and come back.
Right.
So maybe something should, just a simple sentence that this application is continued until the appropriate material is received by the planning staff, right?
If that's what was said, that's the hard part.
In my notes, it doesn't look like a motion was made or a vote taken on that.
Yeah.
We just said, we'll see you when you come back with more info. We
Yes.
kind of ran out of time.
I
too.
didn't say a motion, I just said this
Right.
application was continued,
Yeah, doesn't look like any official determination was made.
okay?
That's kind of how it ended then.
Yeah, I think it ended, thank you very much for
Yeah.
Yeah.
giving us your feedback, and
Right.
have a good day.
Yeah,
Because if we didn't open it in the first place, we can't continue it, right?
technically, that, using that word continue would be bad, you're right, I agree.
Leave it as is for now, 93.
Um,
I know what you mean, it feels incomplete, but it was incomplete.
Yeah, it was.
And if they want to know how we said goodbye to them, that's what the video's for.
I don't, whatever you think, I just made a note because it seemed like it came to an
Yeah,
abrupt
abrupt.
dead end.
Yep.
Okay, 94, are we done with that?
Go ahead.
There's an extra landscape company in there and in several other spots. It is York River Landscaping, and if you go to look at the application, the front page or any other part of the material, it says York River Landscaping. I don't know how landscape company got added in, but, so it's there and at 102 and at 106 and 115.
Oh, yeah. A little redundant.
Yeah, it's fine.
Didn't even notice it.
It's fine. I'm sure somebody said that at some point and it got picked up. And
Is that everything?
that's all I have, yeah.
Just a couple ones. On line 43, an off-site improvement might include a sidewalk. I thought it was not, I thought we were talking about an on-site sidewalk, something behind the fence or between the fence and the parking.
Along Main Street?
No, cross street.
No,
It wasn't off-street because, it wasn't off-site because there's no room off-site.
There's actually a little bit of room. The way that Cross Street forms with the lot line, Cross Street dips down and the property line stays straight, so there's actually an increased amount off there. So it would technically be an off-site improvement because there would be a sidewalk that would not be on the property.
Again, I was thinking it wasn't a sidewalk, it was a connection between the properties behind the
Well,
fence.
it's not a sidewalk along the road, but it's a sidewalk to their front door. Is that clarification, right?
That's true.
Yep, pathways.
Pathway, thank you.
pathway to the
So that doesn't, a sidewalk, it doesn't fit the description of a sidewalk to go from the road to the front door.
Right, but there was discussion to construct potentially a sidewalk along Cross Street right there.
Yes.
Because the greenway requires a sidewalk on either side, and we talked about how that would end up actually taking up about half the right of way to do that.
Right.
So the board would need to determine the best practical extent to which that sidewalk could be constructed, if that's what they elected, or y'all elected to do.
How about just saying so it might or might not, the sidewalk was discussed as an off-site improvement. Whether it might or not is up in the air.
It was discussed.
A sidewalk was discussed as a potential off-site improvement.
for line 43 in the center,
Yep.
where it now says an off-site improvement might include a sidewalk. It was suggested that an off-site improvement might include a sidewalk. Would that work for you?
I guess.
Just so she can, I didn't catch your wording, so.
That's fine.
So if we added, it was suggested before that sentence, it was suggested that,
Well, it was discussed. It didn't, I don't know who suggested it.
so doesn't
Maybe
matter,
you remember it, but I don't remember.
doesn't matter who. Does it? It was suggested that, that'll work anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have a question for Brendan, I guess. Wasn't there an issue with the deck that was at the closest to the street, from Main Street?
To Main Street, yes, the deck and the parking space were both in the first layer. Because the front, since it has two frontages, then the first layer wraps around the property. So the Main Street side had a parking space and a deck encroaching on the first layer, which isn't allowed.
They're gonna change that, though.
I assume so, yes.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be in here, though. Just-
That he's going to change it? No, I don't think so. It's just the,
Okay,
yeah.
I just remembered that and didn't know if that was something that had to be noted. Okay, I'm good.
Just on line 51, I don't have it right in front of me. It wasn't Van Ness, the name Van Ness, 2 words, V-A-N space. Maybe I'm
ASS.
imagining it.
I don't have the material.
VAI.
V,
Vanessa and Associates.
how do you
Just one word?
how do you spell it?
That's their engineering group.
Oh, VANASSE. Yeah, that's here.
So it is spelled right. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Don't know how I found that quick.
Can't believe you have that.
line 70, Linda Mackaman, it's M-A-N at the end of her name. Later on, I assume her husband spoke, and his was spelled M-A-N. And
Yep,
I looked,
82, yeah.
and I looked it up, it was M-A-N.
That's a,
And that's all I have.
We've got one between 1:29 and 1:30. Patients had said I left the meeting at, I think, 10:03, but that's when I recused myself. And then the findings were discussed after that.
where, you said one?
Yeah, before the meeting was adjourned. I recused myself, and then you discussed the findings.
Why am I not seeing this?
It doesn't exist, that's why. So between
Oh.
1:29, the end of after the minutes, I recused myself,
Yeah,
and then I believe the board talked about the findings of facts for Wiggly.
Yep, you're right.
which findings of fact?
For Wiggly Bridge,
Oh, for your findings of fact.
that's right.
So,
So after the minutes were discussed,
yeah,
I recused myself, and the board went on to discuss the findings of fact. Then the meeting was adjourned.
so here's the problem. That's not part of other business, and it's not part of the minutes. How do we do that?
Right. Then,
Just a new paragraph that
yeah, and
said,
there's findings of fact, yeah.
just a new paragraph that said, the chair, David Woods,
recused himself as
recused himself.
the
and-
board
and left
discussed the findings of
meeting.
fact.
You didn't do that under other business? That
It
was
just wasn't in order. We did the minutes
okay.
first and then other business.
then other business. So, okay, so other business, that should go under 5, 6 and 5 should change, basically.
Right.
And then a detail that the board discussed, Wiggly Bridge findings of fact.
Recused.
Chairman Dave Woods recused himself from at that time.
All right.
Well, except that we didn't do the minutes after the findings of fact.
No, Dylan was saying, move other business, make minutes
Yeah.
number 5,
Oh,
other
okay,
business
I
number
got you.
6.
I got you, yep. Sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
So patience, if you can do that. Make other business item number 6, and within that heading, the board discussed the findings of fact for the Wiggly Bridge Distillery and used the correct address and
Lot number and everything, yeah.
we didn't, it's not on here. Use the correct lot number and so on, please. And did we vote to?
We did not make a vote. That's why it's on the agenda tonight. We discussed it,
All right,
did not make a vote.
so the board discussed the findings of fact for the Wiggly Bridge Distillery, map and lot, blah, blah, blah.
Tax map 54, lot 10-B, comma, lot 10-C.
Hopefully you heard that. And did not, there was no,
Not taking action.
did not, and there was no further action.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else?
Just one point of clarification regarding your review process on the York River landscaping section. The motion here says calculations are, where is it? Note. Calculations are added to the plan to demonstrate compliance with landscaping ordinance 6.3. That needs to be, you guys meant 6.39 through 6.3
In the site and sub?
zoning, 6311.
Are you commenting in relation to these minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Asking
Line
for a point of
117.
clarification on other minutes.
Line 117.
117.
It wasn't
Calculations.
the landscaping ordinance, it was site and sub.
No. Let me go back.
6.3.9 to 6.3.
That was in regards to Chris's or Goral
There's a
Palmer's.
condition of approval where you basically handed over the landscaping requirements for staff to determine that section, those sections are made, are compliant. Which we'll have a discussion about at a later point in time.
Well, it was either they met the ordinance or not, right? That was a yes, no? Or is it more
Yet to be
minute than that?
determined.
Well, we're gonna talk about that later, I guess.
So calculations are added to the plan.
Calculations are added to the plan to demonstrate compliance with landscaping ordinance. This is your Route 1 standards having to do with, I believe you guys meant 639 through 6311.
Of the site sub?
No,
Of
of
the
the
ordinance.
Route 1, performance standards applicable to all non-residential multifamily uses in the Route 1 3 zone.
6.9 through
Route 1 zone.
6.39 through 6.311.
I'm just wondering if that was the case, yes.
Let's say yes.
Yeah.
Brendan was there, maybe, was that more or less the case?
Well, because the big question was whether or not the landscaping plan met all of the plant unit counts that the ordinance called for.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not clear by the plans, that was not clear by any note that was on there. So my interpretation of what the board said was to demonstrate compliance with the unit counts.
Oh, that's what it was. So the plan, there wasn't a plan note that stated they were meeting.
Yeah, they didn't show their work
The
essentially to
plantings
show
were
that they
there. We
met
asked the
plan
applicant,
counts.
are you meeting the ordinance? And Chris's note was the plan wasn't, the plan didn't dictate that they were in compliance with that ordinance. Because they didn't have a legend saying,
So there should be, in this case, a note added to the plan.
They need to comply with that section unless you guys waive it. And you didn't waive it.
we didn't waive it.
You conditioned it that they comply with it.
That they
We're
added-
trying-
yeah.
Trying to comply with the landscaping buffer yard standards.
I'm looking through Chris's review right now. That was,
Which in the future, staff will advise against doing that type of motion again.
yes.
Yeah, I get what Chris said, and that was an I'd say. Or is more like, okay, board, they're not doing this. How do
Yeah.
you feel? And I get this application's been here for a long time. It's kind of trying to move it, but landscaping's kind of big there.
This was under buffer yards, right?
Oh, yeah.
639. So landscape plan had been submitted, however, there are not calculations provided showing the conformance with the Route 1 performance standards. So we said that the calculations need to be provided on the plan.
So if I,
So this, if their calculations don't come out right, because I directly asked him,
Compliance.
are you in compliance with the ordinance? You need to show your calculations. And he said, oh, won't be a problem.
so if it said.
As long as it says demonstrate compliance, I'm just saying, make sure you're referencing the correct sections.
Yep.
How about if it says calculations are added to the plan to demonstrate compliance with landscaping buffer yard standards of ordinance 6.3.9 through 6.3.11?
That sound roughly correctly?
That's exactly what Chris's review
Those are
says.
the- those
So
are the
the
buffer
condition
yards.
was pulled off of Chris's review.
Okay.
And he says,
Say it.
639, 6310,
Yeah.
and 6311.
Yep.
So we were going out of, like,
There might be other arguments to come on this. I'm
Okay.
saying that.
yep,
Next time, make sure that applicants comply with those standards. Because they're gonna,
So
they're,
patients,
they might
Different interpretation.
interpret those sections and what they should comply with differently. You guys might be reviewing it again.
okay.
so for now, patients, can she go with what I just said because she listens?
I think so.
Okay,
There's still some broadness in there, but it might be back for your further interpretation.
The application itself,
That particular compliance section.
the
Landscaping of
condition.
landscaping of buffer yards and what that condition should meet the standard.
639, 6310, 6311.
I think for us, we're saying you want full compliance with that section.
Yeah,
That's
there's
how
never
we're
a
interpreting.
waiver granted.
No waivers were granted. It's compliance with that section, period.
so, I'm going to say this, patients, if you are someone uncomfortable with this, I'm suggesting that we don't approve these as amended and that she submits them back to us. If you could please put these thoughts, changes in patients and resubmit this, appreciate it.
Do we need a motion to extend past or?
Yeah, you're at 10:28.
All we have is the findings of fact from the Wrigley Bridge, and for what it's worth, I read it slowly and carefully twice, and I found absolutely nothing. I don't know if anybody else did.
On the,
Point of, if you all do proceed with going through with it.
I need to recuse myself.
Yeah, Dave will need to recuse himself.
So the question is
You can
up
recuse
to
yourself.
you now. I'm going to recuse myself.
from the vote. Yeah, but, yeah.
Yep. David is stepping down. The chair is now going to be Pete Smith.
It's going to leave the rest of us with a 10:30 issue.
This is quick.
No, not unless you do it.
Trying to save a step for y'all.
It's quick. Under the section about Dr. Fry, the sixth sentence
Yeah.
down, it says, "Real-world samples taken prove to more." I think it's proved to be more difficult.
Can you, we're on page 3.
Yeah.
Which bullet?
The fifth bullet, about Dr. Fry,
Yeah, that's 3 to 5, right?
yeah, sixth sentence down, it says, real, identified by microscopy with pure cultures, real-world samples taken prove to more. I believe it should be to be more
Yep.
difficult, right? Just the word "be" needs
Yes.
to be added in there.
What an awesome catch. Holy macaroni. You win my best star award.
And my other question, did she do testing in 2024 and 2025? Or just?
Yes,
did
she
do
did,
both of
yes.
them?
Yep.
Okay. And my final question is on the signature. It says Chair Planning Board,
I have
since
the same.
he's recused. Does it need to be Vice Chair?
I had the same question.
I'm actually not sure on that one.
Or would it say acting? Or would it not matter because,
He was the chair
Right.
presiding over the application for
Right.
this.
And, yeah.
So you will have to sign it then.
sign as
Pete
chair?
Smith has to, yeah,
Yes,
Pete
yes.
Smith as acting chair is authorized to sign the findings of facts. That would be the motion if the board gets there.
Rather than Vice Chair Pete Smith.
Vice chair is authorized, either way.
Oh, okay.
Or Pete Smith, who was serving as chair for this app, doesn't matter as long as it's clear.
So
As long as it's,
Well,
Also, you need to
that has to
probably,
go in the minutes then. No? In other words, this here should just say Vice Chair and I sign it. Would it?
well, the question was, is that during the time of the meeting, you were acting as the chair?
you are acting as the chair.
So
Yes, well
you
then,
are chair, you were Chairman
So-
Peter Smith.
Yep, so you can sign it.
Real fast, we're at 10:31,
Yep.
just to nitpick.
okay,
And you,
we've done that before.
the town attorney looked this over.
Yes, she did.
So
So you're
is
the
there
chair.
going to be
You
a
sign this.
corrected copy that I?
No,
can
you sign
come
it
in?
as chair.
You're signing
can-
as chair.
I can produce a corrected copy in the morning.
We can't do auto
You know
pen.
what, I quit.
We can't do auto pen like the presidents do.
You can't
I
sign
will,
that
I will see you tomorrow.
one. You can't sign that one anyway, it says draft on it.
I know it.
Also, for just a point of clarification, who are the voting members on this findings of fact?
You have 4 voting members, right?
I think he has to appoint you as a voting member, because you're an alternate and you weren't appointed as a voting member before he just stepped into chairmanship.
True. And I can vote on this because I was
is
the
correct.
voting member during this. Chairman,
Yes.
can you do me the honors of voting me in?
Right now, are you, you're,
For the
she's,
purposes of voting on authorizing the chair to sign this application, you're going to move Crystal up as a voting member on this particular findings.
Just for this vote. Yep.
Yep.
okay. Forgive me, last name was Tennyson?
Tenny.
Tenny. All right. For purposes of voting on the findings of fact for Wiggly Bridge Distillery, 441 and 445 US Route 1 Tax Map 54, Lot 10B and Lot 10C, I am assigning Crystal Tenney as a voting member.
Thank you.
I move that we authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact for Wheelie Bridge Distillery and storage building additions, site plan modification, 441 and 445 US Route 1, York, Maine, tax map 54 lots 10B and 10C.
Second.
Now that I'm acting as chair, does that have to be stated in the beginning?
I would just say authorize the chair, Peter Smith, acting chair for this application.
Authorize Peter Smith, acting chair, to sign this application. Sign this findings of fact.
Findings of fact, and say it again, the whole thing, so it's official.
I move that we authorize the
Peter Smith.
acting chair, Peter Smith, to sign the findings of fact for Wiggly Bridge Distillery and storage building additions, site plan modification, 441 and 445 US Route 1, York, Maine, tax map 54 lots 10B and 10C.
Second.
As amended, right?
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
No.
Take a vote. Mark,
Abstain.
abstain. Wayne?
Yes.
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 Chair votes yes. So we have
401.
4-0 and 1 abstain.
No, I don't.
410.
I'm sorry. I don't think, first of all, Mark had to recuse himself from this application meeting as well due to him being a butter, so he wasn't a voting member at that time. So I don't think,
No, I was asked to recuse myself, and I did not.
I'm sorry. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
So would that qualify?
He can still abstain.
He's
from-
he's
can still
abstaining
abstain.
He
from
can
the vote.
abstain from approving
Okay,
it. from-
okay.
He also wasn't appointed as a voting member for the findings.
That was going to be my second.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He-
I believe we're done.
Yeah, with the preface that the chair would backdate it, sign it today is 6/11/26. You will sign it as approved as amended, but 6/11/26.
You made the statement as that's well enough, right? Oh,
Yeah.
Is that understood
Yes.
by the board?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.